That's
November.
key to communicate with other students around the world.
So we have Hans coming in on the third day.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And so I'm settled in. I've been here for almost more than a month.
Oh, that's right. That was an adventure moving.
Yeah, we extracted ourselves using one of these Air India flights from the United States back to here. So
what a headache.
yeah, it was not easy, but we made it. Still, you have to be very careful in India. The numbers are still not stabilized or not coming down yet. So
yeah, no.
Another month, another couple of months that we have to be extremely careful in India.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still, the numbers are still growing.
Yeah. But we'll make it one of these days. By next year, maybe next summer, I think things might start improving. We can start traveling.
Yeah, I think by next summer, that's pretty much the time frame.
A lot of cultural changes have happened because of this. Hopefully, all the good stuff that came out will be maintained and help us communicate in a better, peaceful environment.
Yeah.
And use technology. That'll be fun.
I think the world has learned, and we need to, like you said, there's no going back. And I think these changes are good for the good of everybody.
Nature is telling us something.
Well, it's only one planet, right? One environment, one chance. We got to get it right. Otherwise, we're in problems.
Yeah, nature is telling us that. Here's John Tharakan from Harvard University has joined us. How are you, John?
Hello.
He's very active. By the way, John is very active with Engineering Without Borders, both in the USA and in India. And,
good. Yeah, we're working very closely with Bernard and all EWB and ECHO. So it's very interesting.
Many of our students in India chapters are India, also EWB India student chapters in India. So they'll be making some presentations on this third day of this.
Okay, cool.
And John himself will make a short presentation. Okay, now they're ready to go. All right, I'm going to keep quiet.
Good evening, everyone. It gives us immense pleasure to welcome you all on this auspicious day. Let us take privilege of all the students and committee to welcome Dr. Krishna Vedula along with the delegates. I'm your host, Mr. Tanmay Bhosle, along with Ms. Shaista. Welcome on this enthusiastic and enlightening event, IUCEE Student Summit 2020. Tremendous talent, meritorious students, remarkable achievements, noteworthy standards, innovative activities, creative ideas. The list is never ending when we talk about this event. The answer that we received to the question for being a perfect engineer was imagine, improvement, implement. Imagination thrives for improvement, and these together with proper implementation makes a dynamic engineer. And we are blessed to have such engineers with us today. Not only engineers or professors, but the desirable leaders whom we look upon.
We extend our warm welcome to the Director of IUCEE, Dr. Krishna Vedula. We are delighted to have Dr. Ramiro Jordan with us. They say a perfect all-rounder personality never exists. So I pretend they never met Dr. Ramiro. He is an innovator, educator, entrepreneur, and a scientist. We also extend our warm welcome to Dr. Ravi Selgame. He is also the GIAF member of IUCEE. We extend warm welcome to Dr. Shrikant Aradhya. We are blessed to have you with us today. We are delighted to have Mrs. Sampada Pachori. She is our advisor for this event. We welcome Dr. Claire Comets to our event. She has been part of IUCEE since 2015 in a variety of roles. We also extend our warm welcome to Dr. Manu Vora. He is speaker of our soft skills session. We welcome one and all again. Today, we commence our 3-day virtual event. The event majorly focuses on empowering skills and enhancing imagination, which also appears to be tagline of the event. IUCEE often comes with innovation and inspiring ideas for the students. This student summit has a lot to offer precisely to those who innovate merrily. Without further ado, let's move to our first event.
We are looking at 3 full days of excitement and information exchange. Today, we will have a guest SDGs. We will give a short brief about the Sustainable Development Goals, followed by the project management, and then the Industry 4.0 session. To begin with, our first event of day 1, we will talk about sustainability and the SDGs. A famous philanthropist has said, we do not inherit birth from our ancestors. In fact, we borrow it from our children. And I feel that this hits a lot in today's country. We all have been suffering from this pandemic since the last 6 months and have learned a lot from it. It's time we understand the importance of sustainability in life. Today, we have Dr. Jordan with us. Dr. Jordan is a science innovator, educator, and entrepreneur. He is currently working as the Associate Dean of Engineering for Global Initiatives. Dr. Ramiro will be guiding us about the Sustainability Development Goals, or SDGs. He will delineate a more focused direction on how to boost the quality of sustainability goals, position them as commitments, and better communicate them in a credible and meaningful manner. I request Dr. Ramiro Jordan to acknowledge us. Please, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, Ramiro, we can.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation. It's an honor for me to be here and talk to you. And I think you're the future, so we need to really empower you. And I hope with my presentation, which is the use of what we define as peace engineering, what can show you how we are addressing the 17 SDGs of the United Nations and also the 11 National Academy of Engineering Grand Challenges. May I grab the screen so I can show the presentation, please?
Sure, you can go ahead and show your screen.
Let me know if there's any issues.
Yep. Looks
okay,
perfect.
Thank you. So I'll be presenting on peace engineering, something that we started, we meaning IFES GDC. We organized the first global conference on peace engineering in November 2018. So what I'm going to be doing is showing you what we have been doing since November 2018 to the present based on peace engineering. So I broke the agenda and before COVID and after COVID, okay? So I'll start with before COVID, and then the world has pressed the reset button, so we need to all adjust. A little bit about New Mexico, because people they don't know where we are. So we are in the US, and here's a little bit of background from New Mexico. What happened in New Mexico? This is where the big science was born. Of course, you probably know about Microsoft was started here. Jeff Bezos was born here. He's trying to start here. Stack Overflow, if you're into software engineering, that's a great powerhouse. And if you use MATLAB was developed at UNM, my university. So it's high tech. It's one of the states with the highest concentration of scientists in the world because of the two labs, Sandia and Los Alamos. Big science. This is big science. This is something that was started here, and which it's great, but this is where we touched something that can destroy all of us. And India, Pakistan, and some countries have this technology, and we have to be aware that everything can be used for the good and also or the bad. So why peace engineering? We decided to challenge the world, to really start talking about peace. How do we measure peace? How do we measure good, positive transactions versus negative transactions? Because every technology can be weaponized. So we need to be aware of that, but we need to make sure that as engineers, we use it for the benefit of the world and peace. So the first definition of peace engineering was developed by Professor Arne Visseling and Richard Boeing in 2003, 2004, and they wrote a book. And here's the definition that they came up, and this is what would kind of form the framework until 2018. And peace engineering is basically changing the mindset. And let me be very clear here. It's not about engineering and engineering students. We need to change the mindset of every discipline that exists. And now we're going to have to create new disciplines to address the global challenges. And the roadmap is the 17 SDGs, of course. And we need to now bring the engineering perspective into the 17 SDGs. We need to measure. We cannot be just without data. Okay, so this is what came out of that conference in 2018. Different topics like, can peace be a profit center? Of course, we need to come up with new entrepreneurs that will develop peace technology. This is very important. So peace can be a profitable business. We need to deal with sustainability. Something that is very, very important is accountability and transparency. This is what's lacking in the world, okay? We don't have transparency and accountability. And something that goes connected to that is the symmetry of information. Open science. We need to have access to information, and it has to be symmetric. Otherwise, you create these imbalances. And I'll share my slides with you, and I don't want to spend too much time on each of these topics. So this is the definition we came out in 2018. So it's very broad, but it's engineering works directly towards a world where prosperity, sustainability, social equity, entrepreneurship, transparency, community voice and engagement, ethics, and a culture of quality. It's very challenging. This is something that the national labs here in the US, Los Alamos, Sandia, and Air Force embraced this. Now, part of the strategic plan, they have peace engineering, and we're working very closely with them, and they're very interested in that. And it's something that this new mindset has no borders, like COVID, no borders. So why did we want to do this? Well, everybody talks about Industry 4.0, 5.0. So there's some schools that have created humanitarian engineering. but we really want to focus on those 17 SDGs and the 11 NAE challenges. We need to really do something about it instead of talking about it. And something that we always talk is we have one planet, one environment, one chance to get it right. And we got the warning now with COVID that we're reaching up the point of no return with climate change. And we can see this with the forest fires that we have in California. They're just devastating that whole state. And we have to deal with the asymmetry of information and knowledge. So circular economy, I don't want to spend too much time, but I'm borrowing what Krishna always says, are we teaching and are they learning? Okay, and we need to bring this to the classroom. We had a great workshop in Chennai last year with over 100 students, and something that's suggested, and I'm trying to implement here at UNM, is that if we take 1 hour in every class, just 1 hour of all the engineering classes, and invite people to talk about circular economy, climate change, the 17 SDGs, it'll open the mind of everybody. So for me, this is peace engineering. We educate, we innovate, this is engineering, and we break things. And now we need to fix it, and we need to bring it back and close the loop. This is what is, for me, is the circular economy. And we have to be, when we design, when we produce things, we need to be aware of the unintended consequences or intended consequences, and that can create conflict. We haven't been doing this. A lot of the engineering projects don't really consider much the unintended or intended consequences. So we need to be aware of that. Give you an example. This was in the Amazon, a study from National Geographic, looking at leopards there. And some leaders decided to open the land and make that economy that was circular, make it linear. So they burned the forest, so they cleared the land for farming and cattle ranching. Things got out of control. And last year, as you were aware, we all suffered the smoke that was generated from the Amazon worldwide. So, problem. Of course, I don't need to say much about this great role model that we have. So what are the global challenges that we're trying to address also? And everything is SDG. One is the great AI thing, privacy, the role that Facebook has played, with very damaging to the democracy in the United States. We have that problem today. Then we need to think about engineering. Are we doing engineering for the people that already have, or are we going to do engineering for the people that the have-nots? Something to think about, okay? And always it comes transparency. We lack transparency today, and we can solve, engineers, we can solve all these issues. We just need to be allowed to tackle this. This is something that happened in Chile. We had the GDC in Chile, and when we landed there, social unrest. And you can see there, less than 1% of population control of 50% GDP. Again, equity. There's no equity, right? Same thing happened in Bolivia. Fraud, lack of transparency, elections. This is what's happening now in Lebanon. And for all engineers, we know about the exponential law. This is the law that is used to measure the pandemic. But that exponential law is also giving us how we're destroying the planet by killing a whole bunch of species. So we have to do something. And here's more challenges there. One is, I like to bring out is aporophobia, which is the rejection to the poor. Today in the US, because of the COVID crisis, people have lost jobs. They're being evicted from their homes. We are building homeless camps. We don't call them refugee camps, but we are building. We have one in Albuquerque, and we're working with them. I have a colleague in Denver, Professor Bernard Amadei, who's the founder of Engineers Without Borders, and he's actively participating in the city of Denver because there's a camp being built there. And with Bernard and Project Echo, we're working with a refugee camp in the border between the US and Mexico. So we are doing peace engineering. And we have to address all these different issues like equality, diversity, inclusion. Like I said at the beginning, everything is tied to this. Here's the roadmap of the world. They decided to come with the 17 SDGs, in which we have 169 tasks. But let's put a number, let's measure so we can analyze, we can avoid conflict, we can solve real problems for the world, not just for the few. So I don't need to expand on this. You're aware of this, you live and you're engaged and you're passionate about making a change. And this is what peace engineering is all about. And social responsibility, right? We need that. We need to start at home. We can't say, oh, the government's responsible, the corporations, no, we got to start at home. How much water I consume, how much waste do I generate, how much energy, telecom. I mean, let's come up with a footprint at home and then build up from there. So reset. What's around the corner? Does anybody know? I don't think so. This is when I started measuring. This was on March 2nd when a week after that, we went online. And this is today, exponential law. You're right behind us, okay? Brazil now is third. So we got a serious issue. So the world has changed. So everything that we're doing is like flying up, building a plane as we fly. This is what everybody's doing right now. Every model in education and healthcare and telecom and energy and transportation, everything needs to be reimagined, re-engineered. And this is the challenge that we have. Now, focusing on the unintended consequences. And again, what's important is that we share information and the information is symmetric. So we address equality there too. So we need to measure the 17 SDGs. And this is what we have been started doing in peace engineering with several universities around the world and projects. So we invite you to work with us in measuring the 17 SDGs so we can come up with an awareness map like a weather prediction so we can avoid conflict and be better global citizens. So we are measuring. We can measure trust, anger, empathy, and these are projects that we have with several universities, and students are amazing how creative they are. So we invite you to work with us in coming up with metrics so we can design, all of us, this awareness map of peace and conflict and avoid conflict. So here's some of the work that we've been doing with a lot of students. Like I said, measuring peace. And we also have organized a workshop with the System Dynamics Society on peace in the Arctic. The Arctic is coming, it's opening up. There's no ice. We have now new routes for transportation, where we have access to resources. We have access to fisheries that can be devastated. We have 14 different pueblos there. So we need to come up with awareness map so we can avoid conflict and everybody benefits, except not the few. We also have launched now with ECHO, and ECHO started also at my university by Dr. Sanjeeva Arora. They started this network on healthcare. ECHO is the largest healthcare network in the world. Every medical school in the US and around the world are part of ECHO. There's 40 hubs just in India. So for them to do a good job in healthcare, they need engineering infrastructure. So we're teaming up. So we're talking about water, energy, telecom, food security, new drugs. So we're teaming up with ECHO, and we have launched the Peace Engineering ECHO project a month ago. And as I indicated, we're already on the field working and solving real problems. This is just a footprint of ECHO. They're, like I said, in the US, they're all over the world, okay? And in India itself, they have now over 40 hubs. And this is, again, an invitation to my colleague, Krishna Vedula, to work with me so we can join healthcare with engineering.
Can we finish up in 2 minutes?
Yes.
Q&A? Yeah, okay.
So here's a good webpage to look at the challenges that we have globally, okay? So I invite you to Peace Engineering so we can build a better world. And here is, I want to finish with thanking you again for the invitation. And here are some of the universities that are working with us. And a lot of these projects are student driven. Thank you so much for the invitation and for this opportunity to share what we've been doing for the 17 SDGs globally. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend Ramiro. Obrigado, gracias, thank you. Merci. So this is really inspiring, Ramiro. I think we have opportunity for chat from the students coming in, right? Any comments, chat coming in. While they're doing that, I'm going to ask you a very specific question, Ramiro. Help us understand how our chapters, IUCEE chapters, which are all over India, can participate in this ECHO project that you mentioned, particularly in the water, energy, and those kinds of areas. What specific action should we take in the next X number of months to get engaged?
Okay, so what we're doing with several student organizations like with Purdue, EPICS, Engineers Without Borders, identify the different water technologies that are out there. Nobody knows, okay, what are technologies. Some of them are appropriate technologies that are context awareness, and they have developed that. So we can collect the data, all the engineering technologies on water, the same thing on generation of energy, telecommunications, because we need to access the remote areas. This is where the need is. And these remote areas, for us to organize, we have unlimited access to Zoom, for instance. We can do healthcare engineering, but in remote areas, there's no telecom. How can we teach? How can we help the people? And it's in doing engineering for the people that need it in those remote sites. So if we can organize, chapters and just collect information about water, disinfecting, how do I purify the water, how I disinfect the water, how I can generate chlorine, which is the
Can you stop sharing your screen so they can see your face bigger? Stop sharing your screen, that they can see you better. Sorry. Can you do that?
It got locked.
Oh, it got locked? Okay.
Can you unlock me? Can somebody unlock me? It's locked.
Yeah, go ahead. Try it again. That's okay. Keep going. Keep talking. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Just keep talking. That's okay.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
That's okay. Just keep talking. That's fine. Do we have any students coming in with any chats here? Let's see. I think we have typed the message. Anybody typed in the messages? Let's see. They're just warming up. So if we have chapters all over India, you suggest that they should go to they should find out what technology they're using in water in remote areas, right? That's what you think.
That's the number one. Water is the essence. And then take it next level, energy. Is there energy there? Okay, how can we bring energy? Because you need energy, and telecommunications now are connected. So we are working with a lot of companies to also develop solutions for remote sites globally.
And you did say that there are several eco hubs all over India, and so
there's
sure
40. There's 40 of them.
Share with us the key contact points there, so we can connect with them and try to get more specific in what
That'd
we
be
can do in
awesome.
India.
That would be awesome.
Fantastic. Okay, anything else? Anybody? John, you have any questions? Sampada, I'm waiting for students to, okay, we have a student. We have a question from Prajwal Dalal saying one of our students, in today's world, usage of dual use of technology is turning out to be a big threat for peaceful world. Unfortunately, engineering, sometimes it's the enabler of this threat. So how can we develop a mindset in such a process that we, I guess what he means is that you've got bad and good and bad effects of technology. So how do we help people focus on the good side of it and avoid the negative side?
Right. Like I said at the beginning, every technology can be weaponized. It's the use, right? And we have to be aware of that. And more now than ever, because everybody jumped into Facebook. Okay. Really? That was weaponized. And they own your data. You don't own your data. At least Europe has come up with a privacy law that the user owns the data. This is a human right. So we need to address these issues. This is what transparency is all about. Engineers, we can measure all of this and we can demonstrate like we do deep learning to do good prediction. Now we have deep fake, right? It's been weaponized. So we need to be aware of that and educate the world that be careful what you're doing, what you're using. Everything can be weaponized. This is the unintended consequences, or in some companies, it's an intended consequence that they wanted to. So just be aware.
Okay, another next question is from Yashesh Vijay. What are your views on private actors cherry picking the SDGs?
As long as there's I mean, everybody needs to participate, right? Public, private institutions, everybody needs to participate. Like I said in the presentation, there's one planet, one environment, one chance. We're all in this together. We have to work together, but it has to be transparent. And if there's lack of transparency, another word for transparency is open signs, that everybody's after open signs, but we don't have access to all the knowledge and information because it's asymmetric. So if we can level that, it'll help everybody. And I think, like I said, everybody's welcome here. We're all in this together.
Okay, hunger is a key issue right now in India. That's from Sai Surya. How can peace engineering help overcome hunger?
Food security, that's very important. So what do you need? Land. The land is a good. We need fertilizers. It's not just bringing fertilizers because that pollutes also the water streams and all of that. So we need to look at the whole chain of food security, from planting a seed all the way to the product reaching the markets. This is what happened in Mexico. Because fertilizer went up, the price of tortilla, because it's a whiplash effect, was unreachable by the poor people. So we need to be aware of the complete cycle. And we not doing a good job teaching all of this. I'm sorry, but at UNM, we started a peace engineering minor. It's the only university with peace engineering minor. We collaborate with Drexel. They have a peace engineering graduate program. So we're working together. Stanford, Drexel, UC Boulder. We want to work with you. Just let us know how.
Great. Last question from Jessica. And this has to do with how do we convince people that the climate change is a real problem, including president of your own country?
My country is an embarrassment, right? We have a person that rejects science. I mean, that's the big problem. He doesn't believe in science. It's about interest groups and it's about himself. So here's a problem of also transparency, right? We have a serious issue, and now we have a crisis, and you see in the news that we have a tremendous crisis. It's called equity, inclusion, diversity, and so on. Everything, every model now has to be re-engineered. Every model.
Krishna, can I just bump in a bit?
Yeah, just quick one. Yeah.
Ramiro, thank you so much for your presentation. I love the peace engineering notion, the idea. I just put a link to a paper of mine in the chat, where I talk about going beyond peace engineering to educating engineers for justice. You mentioned equity. You mentioned the fact that there's disparity. I believe that that is the big problem. As anybody who's attended a protest has heard, no peace, no justice, no peace.
Right. No, they're all, I agree, John. This is
no peace. So I think we need to go beyond peace engineering and start talking about justice and engineering and technology for justice.
I
Thank you.
Okay,
agree.
on that note, I'm going to move on here.
Thank
Keep the
you.
Time. Okay, thank you. And we'll give back to the student moderator.
Thank you, sir. Here's an important instruction. All the students will receive a link of the feedback form. Please provide your valuable feedbacks. I would like to hand over to Shaista now.
Thank you.
As Peter Drucker has said, time is the scarcest resource, and unless it is managed, nothing else can be managed. When we talk about project management, we often focus on method, skills, and knowledge, but always overlook time. The key to good time management is not to work more, but to work more efficiently. This means that you should structure your time so that you get more done in less time. Always remember, a project is complete when it starts working for you rather than you working for it. And such sufficient execution is our speaker's specialty. We are overwhelmed to welcome Dr. Ravi Selgame. He will be guiding us about project management and reveal some of his secrets to success. I request Dr. Ravi to enlighten us. Please, sir.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. I think, let me know once you see my screen.
Coming up, yes, it came.
Yes.
Yep, you're on.
Okay, let me see how to get, yeah. Okay, I put this topic as managing complex projects. I think Mrs. Sheikh has given a very brief 5-minute overview of my presentation, so I don't need to talk in detail, I guess. So in any case, I call it complex project because today in industry, I come from industry. Let me, before I start this, give a brief introduction about my background. That will be probably helpful. I actually have a global executive leadership role for a company called Aptiv. Aptiv is a new name for a company that existed for almost close to 100 years with GM, and then a company called Delphi Electronics, which is into automotive electronics area. We are slowly morphing based on technology into new areas like autonomous technology and infotainment and connected vehicles and connected systems and so on. So I've been working with this company for last 15 years, setting up engineering product development activity in India, and also establishing global centers of excellence for product development in India. I have also worked with General Electric in the past, GE Corporate Research and Development for a few years, and IBM Almaden Research Center for many years in California. So my background has been primarily in product development, leading innovation groups. I've spent time in research and development, and also bringing products from R&D all the way to market with customers. So I have personally not been a project manager, but I have worked with project managers for long enough so I can give some GAN to all of you about project management skills. So my intention today is not to cover all details of project management, but to give you a quick flavor of what project management is all about. Just enough to spirit you into looking for more details about this, building these skills, and possibly thinking about a long-term career even in this area. Okay, as you get as you graduate and then look for careers in industry. Okay. So just a rejoinder, when I said complex project, complex basically involves interdisciplinary nature of projects. These days, all projects in large projects actually in industries or wherever you take, even outside industries are fairly interdisciplinary. So you need to work across disciplines, you need to work across competencies. And also you have a lot of complexity of requirements. So that comes from the customers. Requirements keep changing, their expectations keep changing, and you need to manage all that. And of course, projects become complex when you have a lot of new development as opposed to something that you reuse in your projects, right? So based on that, I said it is complex.
Can you go into full screen mode, Ravi? Full screen?
Okay, yeah, sure. I think that should be okay. Better?
Yeah, good.
Okay. So based on that, I call it a complex project. So I just want to mention that, not every project in every industry probably has a full-time project manager. Okay. But it is also true that, a lot of good ideas, good products fail to take off because of poor project management, or average products actually do extremely well because of good project management. So there are both sides of the world, right? So project management is a very important competency or very important skill to succeed in a complex industry, right? So according to Project Management Institute definition, PMI is nodal apex body that actually spreads the awareness and knowledge and brings people together on project management skills. It is basically application of knowledge, skills, and tools to a temporary activity that actually has a beginning and end in time called a project, and therefore it has its own scope and resources, right? So that is what a project management is actually defined as. Okay, so why do we require project management? I briefly said that good projects can fail because of poor project management. The idea is you have to make sure that the goals and objectives and stakeholder expectations are aligned properly. Okay, stakeholder basically means your customers, your management, your peers, whoever is affected by the project or the delivery from the projects, right? They're all stakeholders. Okay, customer is of course one of the key stakeholders. You are doing a project for somebody, and somebody is going to use that project. So this alignment of goals for stakeholders is number one priority. And of course, every activity requires some direction and some leadership. So without a structure and a leadership and direction, so activities tend to go astray. Focus and clarity of tasks and actually planning of activities, coordination of the planning of activities from various competencies from various people. Quality control, because what you want to deliver has to have a certain level of quality, the expected quality. And most importantly, the risk management activity, right? A project manager a good project manager can differentiate himself or herself based on how well they manage the risks in the project. Every activity, every project will have risks, okay? And the project managers also have to take certain risks in the project to get execute those projects. So it's very important that they have good ability to manage those risks well. And to accomplish all these activities, you require a good project management activity in a large project. Okay, that's the basic essential requirement. So if you look at project management in general, so you have 5 phases. Typically in any kind of project management, whatever methods you use. So there is an initiation phase where you define your project charter, you define the scope of the project, you set out your objectives of what you want to accomplish, and definitely your stakeholder expectations. Okay, it's not just requirements from the customers, but also the constraints that you have in the project. So you want to accomplish this with a given budget, within a given resource. All those things are expectations from your stakeholders. So you basically elucidate that, and then start the project. So that is the initiation part of the project. Then you have planning part of the project where you have the scopes expanded, the goals and objectives are clearly defined. Key deliverables are identified. What are you going to produce from this project? How are you going to produce, and who is going to get that deliverable? Then set out your schedules and milestones, assign the tasks to various people, and start with a risk management strategy, or assess your risk initially in the project. So that way, you know what are the areas, key areas that you want to focus on. Once you have planning, then you start execution. So the first two phases of the project management are extremely essential, and a sufficient time must be spent on those two phases. Okay. When you do this, I have also put a small graphic at the top which says you define your goals using these SMART objectives, or they are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So SMART goals help to drive the project much better. So once you start execution, of course, you have your meeting cadence, you track and ensure the delivery of tasks, you have a regular cadence on communication, you have risk management activities, and most importantly, customer engagement, right? So throughout the project, you have continuous customer engagement where there is a feedback on the status of the project, a feedback on from the customer to the team on the state of the project, and so on. Without a customer engagement, the projects can just go astray, right? So there is a famous statement that I still remember from one of my leaders in GE who said, a customer kept in the dark cannot be seen leaving, right? So customer communication is an extremely important activity for a project manager. Then, of course, encompassing all this is monitoring and control. Controlling the project involves controlling your budget, controlling finances for the project, controlling your resource utilization, and taking appropriate action at the right time to eliminate any bottlenecks that you have and control changes in the project, right? This is the most important responsibility of the project manager. The project manager juggles three important things: the cost, schedule, and quality in the entire life cycle. So all three requires strong monitoring and control. And most importantly, once the project is completed, it is closed with lessons learned, archiving of the documents, resources are released, and handoff is done with whoever is going to take it forward for the next action, right? So these are the most important phases in the project. Okay, initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing, right? So if you take all these skills and if you lay it out, what are the things that you need to look for, right? So if you start a new project, okay, you need to look for the methodology that you want to follow. You want to look for typically the tools that you want to use, and the domain skills that are required to run this project. So let's talk about the methods or methodologies. There are a lot of project management methodologies today in the industry. Typically, the ones that you may be familiar are waterfall models, where you have all activities that are sequentially done. So you start from requirement gathering, then you develop a design, you develop an architecture or whatever. Then you develop the product, then you deliver, get feedback, build it, and then move forward. A lot of times, actually, you cannot work in a waterfall model. Because of that, sometimes you have change of requirements. The requirements are changing very fast. The customers cannot wait for a long time. New methods have been developed over the last couple of decades because of this. So Agile is one such new method. So you might have heard about Agile software development. A lot of people use in the industry the Agile methodology, where you have iterative waterfall models within Agile, right? So you have these sequential activities done in a short periods of time where you quickly get your customer feedback, make changes, allow for flexible change of requirements, and so on. So Agile is another methodology. Scrum is one type of Agile methodology that is also becoming more and more common, which is focused on teams, which is focused on self-achievable teams that come together. It focuses on daily stand-up meetings where the project is tracked. It focuses on self-organizing teams and so on. So I will give you some resources where you can learn more details about these, but these are more modern methods that are used in industry for project management, the Agile and Scrum methodologies. So similarly, you have Lean, you have Six Sigma, you have critical path method, and many more methods, right? So depending on the project, typically the methodology is chosen, which is used by the project teams. Then, of course, you have the tools where you have planning and scheduling tools like Microsoft Enterprise Project. You have collaboration tools like Teams, MS Teams, Microsoft Teams, or something else. You have requirement management tools like Polarian, or Doors, Rational Doors, which are used for managing requirements, customer requirements. You have dashboarding tools, you have documentation tools, communication tools, and all that. Selection of these tools for a large complex project is as essential as choosing a good methodology. Without without a set of enterprise level tools, it is quite difficult to manage large projects. So most of the large projects use certain standard set of tools. Then, of course, the key domain skills that you require, like soft skills, business skills, quality awareness, finance and leadership skills, and so on. So a project manager starts with these three areas: the methods, tools, and domain. And these are various things that they choose. Okay. So various areas of knowledge areas that one can look at to build skills to grow your career in project management, whether it is resource management, risk management, communications, and so on. I've listed a few of these here. And you develop soft skills in many of these areas by working specifically on your projects, or by actually going through a project management certification program or course. And as you build experience, you'll become better and better at many of these skills, right? So that's a very high level overview of project management generally. I want to spend the next maybe 10 minutes or so on some industry practices on how this is adopted. So let me give you a little bit of a bigger picture here. Okay. So if you take a product development process, so like typically an industry like ours, where you are developing an electronics product, uh, you have a life cycle, okay, where you start from define to launch in various phases. Okay, we call that as a new product development process. Okay, so typically in industry like ours, you have three different kinds of processes. One is a technology development process where things are not very well defined. You are developing the technology. So for example, you're talking about using LiDARs, light detection for image processing in autonomous industry, right? Autonomous vehicles. That could be a development project. Then you have an advanced engineering project where the technology is proven and you want to actually convert that into a workable product. Okay, and you run that through an advanced development process where you still don't have a customer that is going to buy your product. Then you have what is called a new product development process or a product development process where you have a customer and the customer is willing to pay money to buy your product, and you have an established process to run that run the development of that product. So there you have these phases: define, position, develop, validate, build, implement, and launch. So I think all the terms are fairly obvious. You position your product, you develop the product, validate, build, and then implement and launch. So in this entire life cycle, project manager plays a significant role. And where do they play the role? I'll show you here. So if you say define and position, those are the first two steps where you are getting your customer to sign up for your product. And once that is done, a project manager is identified. And with that project manager, you actually run your product development process. So where you develop, build, validate, and build using something like a DFSS process or design for Six Sigma process. So in our industry, we use this quite a lot, Six Sigma process, and that is implemented into your product development process. So product development process typically has a lot of gates. That is, you have specific points here where your project is reviewed on specific checklists or matrices that need to be met. That is what are called gate reviews. Okay, so the gate reviews focus on the specific metrics that you have identified in the project. So for example, if I'm developing a controller for a new vehicle, okay, I might say that I have to meet all the requirements in a given time. Okay, and at the same time, I have to meet a cost target. Okay, and I have to meet a. Can you please mute the line? Yeah. And I have to meet a specific quality target. So those matrices that are defined in the project are measured at specific timelines or instances, and those are called gate reviews. And the gate reviews are held regularly.
Can you try to end up in a couple of minutes, or maybe?
Yes, I'm almost done.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's 5:52, right? Yeah. Another 2-3 minutes. Okay. So that is those gate reviews are actually important to check the progress of the project. And that is what is shown here. So you have formal meetings, you have checklists for the review, you have target matrices to achieve for cost, schedule, and quality. And then of course, you have a exit criteria. So to decide whether you have a go or a no-go, right? And the matrices, again, I mean, I talked about this. You may have matrices on requirement maturity or product quality. You might have action items that you want to close and cost of your bill of materials. So those are some of the matrices that are tracked in the project. So this is the last slide. I have a few resources here. I think 20 minutes to talk about this topic is definitely not a very, not very long, but this is just a flavor of project management that I can give you. A good project manager, in my opinion, is very customer centric, has good communication skills, especially a good listener, has organized and structured thinking skills, is an excellent negotiator, and the one with strong business acumen. Something that business knowledge is very critical for a good project manager in industry, and of course has strong people skills. Okay. That's a brief introduction about project management. These are resources that you can go to and learn more about these. So if you are thinking about taking a career in project management, my advice is don't start your career as a project manager. Build some domain skills and then consider looking at project management as a career. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ravi. That was great. I'm going to kick it off with a couple of comments and questions and wait for our student friends to come up with some ideas, questions, and so on. I think the chat box is open, I think. So come in with your comments and questions. Couple of things. You mentioned that project management is extremely important. So can you suggest some examples of how our engineering students in their 4 years during their curriculum can actually get project management experience? Because not all of them need to be expert project manager, but they have to be able to manage projects, right? And and in whatever career they take up. Are there any ideas on how they can incorporate these experiences while they're in college, the 4 years?
Yeah, I think my opinion is that okay. I mean, hands-on experience or on-the-job experience is a good way to build project management skills. So if the students actually work on a longer-term project, like for 2 years, let's say, on a using project-based learning techniques, all the way using design thinking right from the beginning to end. These projects are run for let's say 2 or 3 semesters. They can learn a lot of these skills by working on the project directly. Let's say, for example, they are collecting customer requirements by talking to the customers. So a lot of customer negotiation skills and the customer interaction skills they can learn. But at the same time, there are certain specific tools and technologies they need to know about the project management. And I think that should be taught in the curriculum, at least as a 1-credit course or something. Some of the progressive institutes have started introducing those courses. I would strongly advise that all the engineering curriculum contains at least 1 or 2 credit course on project management somewhere in the 2nd or 3rd year, and a combination of that plus actual hands-on work on a project will help them to build those skills.
So I guess what you're saying is the more projects they do during the 4 years, the better off they will be because they'll be hands-on experience in this. Okay, question from Rohan Rokade is can we consider supply chain as an important aspect of project management?
Yes, of course. The knowledge of supply chain and procurement process is extremely essential for project managers, because when you build a product, you actually source materials, you source components, you source your modules for your product from various suppliers. So supply chain management is an important skill for them. And that's why I said don't start off your career as a project manager. Start building skills in specific areas, and then migrate to a career in project manager. That's typically how project managers grow.
Looking for more comments from the audience, from the students. Come on in, don't be shy. One thing that occurred to me while we were planning this whole summit actually is is that the planning and executing and implementing the summit itself, I think, has given these 20 students who were involved with this thing a great deal of project management experience. So what do you think about having more students doing events like this and planning and including all the steps? Do you think that would lead them, give them some more experience in project management?
Yeah, of course. I mean, leading initiatives like this, organizing it from the scratch, from the beginning, will definitely help them learn these skills. But I think along with that, some level of mentoring on the activities and how to manage conflicts in these activities would help them to learn these better.
That's what Sampada has been doing, helping
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Good. So a question here, I think there's a little, so what do you mean by complex? What is the difference between complex and simple projects?
Yeah, a lot of times a simple could be an activity that may not really require a lot of project management per se, but actually more organization of the activities. By complex, what I mean is it is typically interdisciplinary. You actually have a lot of interactions between various competencies. So for example, to build a product, getting a good supply, okay, a supply of components at the right price is an essential component of that, right? Or your product may involve a lot of new development that is not yet proven. So when you have aspects like that, typically the project becomes a more complex project. Okay. A simple activity which involves one discipline that has a well-defined requirements, well-defined goals, may not require a very strong formal management. And typically in industries, that is how it is run. So complex project which involves multiple disciplines, multiple interactions, and then a lot of new development typically have project managers, full-time project managers.
Okay, so that was from Krishna Sai. Then we have, how do we deal with clients? I mean, when clients will keep changing their minds.
Yeah, so there is a saying that customer is always right. Okay, so first thing is to accept that yeah, there will be a change. A strong change management process is useful for managing those changes. That's why I said one of the skills that is required is negotiation skills. So sometimes the customers change their requirements. Sometimes they are reasonable. Sometimes they're not reasonable. But a discussion and a negotiation with the customers is an important skill that the project managers possess, and they spend that time with the customers to convince them sometimes or modify the requirements. So both negotiation and ability to manage change in the process are both essentials. That's why some of the methodologies that I talked about, like waterfall model versus agile, actually offer you that flexibility. So if you're using an agile methodology, you have more flexibility for changes in your requirements. So you'll have to choose based on the changes that you anticipate.
That question was from Jessica, and the next question from Vijay Rajaguru. Similar, it talks about how can you develop good negotiating skills, but how can you do it while you're in college? Any possibilities of doing that?
I think sometimes actually students have the best negotiation skills, right? They're asked to do things within a given budget. They're asked to talk to a lot of people and bring sponsorships and so on. So it is hard to teach those skills, right? So a lot of times it is experience that teaches them. But there are certain aspects of negotiation that can be probably taught. So it's a combination of the skills, some skills that can be taught, and some that come because of specific personalities, I would say.
We need to close, but I just want to take one last one here. Rujita Ranching, which skill is more critical, organization and detailed planning, or being able to find solutions to problems on the spot?
Detailed planning and execution is critical. Seat of the pant decisions on finding solutions is not always useful, but finding a solution that actually works will be helped through a proper planning and execution. So I would say planning and execution is more critical. You are muted, Krishna.
Okay, back to the students.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening speech. Now,
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Over to you, Tanmay. We, the people of this generation, have become lazy and everybody prefers smart work over hard work, right? Here, while introducing Industry 4.0, the name itself says a lot. According to this ideology, we don't invest in hardcore tools and machinery. Rather, we stay on the trend of automation, which reduces mainly efforts. Developing these technologies of cyber, physical systems, cloud computing, and overall creating smart factories. These operative techniques are accomplished not only to modernize the internet world, but also to be faster, more efficient and customer centric. While pursuing industrial technology, people would adapt to optimize automation and create new business models. We have Mrs. Sampada Pachori, who is currently serving as a Global Industry Advisor member with IUCEE. She plays an active role in the organizational affairs of IUCEE. We also have Mr. Srikant Aradhya, who will guide us today. And now we would be glad to invite our intellectuals, Mr. Srikant Aradhya and Mrs. Sampada Pachori, to share their views.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Shrikant would need to show his slides. So
Yeah. Can you see the slide?
we see you.
It's
You see
coming
slide
now.
now?
Great. Yeah, now we can see
We
it.
see it.
Fantastic. Good job. Yeah, Srikant.
Thank you. So I will start off without making you lose any time. So basically, I will take around 10 minutes to run you through Industry 4.0. Of course, it's quite difficult to cover such a vast field in 10 minutes. I will quickly give you an overview of what you mean by Industry 4.0, and maybe later on we can enter into the fireside chat with Sampada. So I would like to start with this quotation from Heraclitus, the Greek philosopher. Change is the only constant in life. So only way we can do against change is accept it and try to adapt to it. Any resistance to change is going to be futile. So Industry 4.0 also would bring a lot of change in the way we live, in the subjects we learn, and the way we work. So be ready for a big change, and this change is already happening in our midst. I'm on the next slide. This just gives a glimpse of what is Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 means the fourth industrial revolution. Before this, we had three industrial revolutions, which have been shown in the slide. The first revolution happened somewhere inside 1765 with mechanization. The second revolution happened because of mass production and electricity. The third revolution happened in 70s when computers entered the manufacturing shop floor. It was more of an automated production which came into place. And now with the huge amount of technological development and development in connectivity and communication, we have a new industrial revolution in our midst. And this is being powered by various technologies like IoT, artificial intelligence, big data, cyber physical systems, and such things. We need to keep in mind the difference between evolution and revolution. evolution is when changes take a lot of time to happen, whereas revolution, the same changes is going to happen in a very quick amount of time. And that's where these changes is going to be very hard to keep up with. And what's the benefit, or what happens when an industrial revolution takes place? An industrial revolution will lead to an all-round change in the economy. It raises income levels, gives you a better quality of life, increases productivity and efficiency, but then it will also lead to newer business models coming into picture, which can ultimately lead to disruption in the manufacturing or industrial environment. For example, one such business model you can think of is product as a service. We're all used to selling product as a product. For example, you buy maybe a washing machine, a refrigerator or something. Maybe in future, you will not buy the washing machine or refrigerator. Somebody is going to tell you that I'm going to sell you a refrigerator, which will work maybe 24 hours a day, and you're going to pay me by the number of hours it works at your place. So that's a business model which we are talking of because of industrial revolution. So what's the benefit of such a product as a service business model? Of course, the obvious benefit is the customer need not pay any huge capital amount upfront, but he needs to pay an annuity income. So this is the advantage for a customer. For a manufacturer, he gets income over the hours he keeps the things working. So it's going to be a long run of income for him. So those are the type of business models you're thinking of. And manufacturers, companies, and organizations which adapt to these new technologies and use them in their workplace are going to lead the race, and other companies are going to get disrupted and be thrown off. So what's Industry 4.0 in a different perspective? We all know about IoT. What's IoT basically? If you have a physical thing, it could be anything. It could be your bulb, it could be your chair, it could be a table, or it could be a manufacturer's equipment on the industrial shop floor, or it could be your household goods. Any of these things, if they have got equipped with a sensor for sensing a physical parameter, it could be temperature, pressure, motion, whatever it is. And if you put a computing power on it, maybe a small embedded computer, and you provide an internet connectivity to that thing and identify a thing using a unique ID, and then you establish a system whereby whatever data comes out of this physical thing, you are going to analyze and develop business insights out of it. Then this physical thing is going to become an Internet of Things or IoT. So this IoT, when it's applied in an industrial domain or in a manufacturing environment, it's called as Industrial Internet of Things or IIoT. And the same IIoT is referred to as Industry 4.0 by some countries and as IIoT by some other countries, but both mean the same. And why are we so much going after Industry 4.0? This is just a market trend, which I'm showing here. So if we could see, Industry 4.0 is going to be the next exponential curve or S-curve in the productivity. And companies are investing huge amount of money to stay in the race to adapt Industry 4.0. So the amount, if you see, is quite huge, $267 billion by 2021. And there are a lot of manufacturing companies, software companies, product companies, which are trying to get their pie out of this market. And of course, IoT is also in full steam, but IIoT or the IoT applied in industries is going to be the major portion of the IoT income. So if you can see, the 50% of whatever investment is happening in the IoT area is actually happening in the Industry 4.0 or the IIoT area. Now we come to the classical definition of Industry 4.0. Because you're also students, you will all be going for classical definitions in your classes. So I thought I will put this. It's basically a fusion of physical world with the world of information technology. So you have a digital representation of every physical equipment. So the humans, machines, objects, and systems in the manufacturing environment all communicate in a self-optimized and a self-organized way. So what's the benefit? The benefit is you are able to cater for individualized production request at a very high productive rate, at high quality, and with an efficient resource allocation. Now coming to the technologies which are enabling, I thought this slide will be of more interest to the students here, because this could be the areas where you would be working or you would be interested to work in the future. Many of these technologies you might be knowing, for example, cloud and industrial Internet of Things, or 3D printing. 3D printing is also known as additive manufacturing. There are a few more technologies which are playing a major play in the Industry 4.0, like augmented reality, that is AR, VR, which is more used for enabling operators, enabling the human beings so that they will be able to make better productivity when they are working. You have autonomous robots. Robots were introduced way back, 25 years back, even in Indian industries. But what we are talking now is autonomous robots, robots which can work along with the human beings. They need not be put in a separate cage. They can work side by side with human beings. They can stop when a human being comes near their presence, and they are quite mobile. They can look at the routes on their own, and they can move. So such variety of autonomous robots are making a big play. Then you have big data analytics. Once Internet of Things comes into picture, each of the physical thing is going to start sending large amounts of data, and you need a big platform which to ingest this data and also try to analyze and make sense of this data. So that's where big data and analytics are coming into picture. And you have simulation. This simulation is not the CAD or CAM simulation which we are talking of. This is a more real-time simulation where you have a digital twin of a physical product which can in real time represent what the product is doing, what is the temperature of it, pressure of it, and also in case of electrical simulation or in thermodynamic simulation, everything can be done on a digital twin. So before you actually manufacture a product, you can simulate the product and find out what are its problems when it is made, or how best we can make this product. So that's the field of simulation, where digital twin is one of the huge product. Of course, there is horizontal and vertical system integration. The vertical system integration talks of connecting your shop floor or a manufacturing layer equipments to the top floor using computers and connectivity and various other means. And horizontal integration is bringing all the silos of manufacturing. For example, it could be a supplier, it could be a vendor, it could be your customer, it could be your production department, it could be your quality department. All these departments are connected on a digital thread so that the same amount of real-time information is shared across the organization or enterprise. And the last one is cybersecurity. Security is one of the very important things. In the IT world, it was very much well recognized. Privacy and security are the paramount thing. But in the OT world, that is the operation technology or the manufacturing world, security, even though it was there, it was more due to security by obscurity, we call it. That means all these days, the manufacturing equipments were never connected to a cloud or to an external world. So that's how they were secure. But now once they are connected, any hacker can come in, hack a manufacturing equipment, make a robot to move at a different speed, or make your manufacturing equipment go unsafe. And the point here to remember is the security in an IT world only leads to cost loss or leads to data loss, whereas a security threat in a manufacturing environment can lead to human beings' life loss. So it's much more paramount or much more important. So that's how cybersecurity has to be studied in much more depth. And of course, the cloud, we all are using cloud even in our emails and other things, but cloud is going to play a major role in terms of storing huge amounts of data, in terms of scalable computing needs, because the data what you are getting can get bigger and bigger as the days go by. And so you can't put servers in your plant floor and try to analyze this data. It needs to be a scalable storage, and also scalable computing needs to be provided. And that's how the cloud is in picture here. So these are a few of the technologies which enable Industry 4.0. And each of these technologies spawn multiple products and solutions. I think I am in the last but one slide. I will quickly close it and go to fireside chat so that we can have more questions. So how is the technology trends happening? Because what are these technologies which are more popular or more used? So this is something which we have taken from an analyst report. So as you can see, the more used and more popular technology trends would be artificial intelligence. That's going to be a big indicator or a big thing in the play. Then you have augmented reality, virtual reality, and of course 5G network. So 5G network is going to come into play. 5G network offers you much higher speed than the existing 4G, a speed of around 20 Gbps. But then the more important thing about 5G network being used in manufacturing is the reliability. Because these days, manufacturing, everything should be reliable. Suppose I send a data about how my machine is working, I can't afford to lose the data, or I can't afford to make this data go not in real time. So it has to be in real time. So that way the communication network should be reliable, and 5G guarantees that. With a 1 millisecond latency, it guarantees 99.9999 thing in reliable form. So that's how 5G network will enter a manufacturing. Most of robots, machines on the shop floor, usable devices, all these things will get connected in a wireless way over 5G. And edge computing, we are all talking of cloud computing where all the data goes to cloud, but not all data need to go to cloud because of the security and privacy norms. Also because you want to do some analysis and take quick action before going to cloud. Also, if network fails, I can't wait for my manufacturing to stop. So that's how edge computing comes into picture, where you do computing at the edge, near the shop floor or near the machine. And I already talked of increasing use of autonomous mobile robots and cobots. So these are the technology trends. So maybe the students should look at these trends and try to see how much they can study on them, learn on them. And the other thing is about social trend. There's going to be a lot of social upheavals because of Industry 4.0. One, of course, is the reshoring is going to come back because around 10 years back, there was more talk of offshoring, where manufacturing companies used to offshore their work to India, China, and third world countries because of the cheapness of labor. But with Industry 4.0, every one of these developed countries is going to have these new technologies inside their companies, because of which their cost of labor is going to come down, their automation requirements is going to go up, and hence reshoring is going to make a big thing back. Also, COVID has contributed in much bigger way for reshoring to come back. And the second trend, what we could notice is lack of skilled candidates in manufacturing. If you go to any manufacturing company, you find that the owners really talk of not able to retain the talent and not able to get good skilled people inside the company. So manufacturing needs skilled people not only in the manufacturing domain, but also remember the technology trends. Those domain also, they need people now in manufacturing. So we need to look at the students to learn these things. That's how I have put up this slide. So it's not only technology which the students should be learning, the various areas of technology. It is also the areas of domain. People or the students should learn about controllers, the manufacturing IT ecosystem, how it works, what are the manufacturing workflows and the KPIs. So these things, if students learn either by doing internship or by maybe reading more or by talking to suitable faculty members, they could really augment their knowledge. So I think I would stop my presentation here and we can go for fireside chat. Is that okay, Sampada?
Yes, Shrikant, thank you. In fact, this is definitely a vast subject, and I'm already noticing questions here, and we have some questions we received earlier. I'll get down straight to that. The basically there is a big gap in what educational system is currently trying to meet for the demands of Industry 4.0 in terms of the employability of the students. And this gap cannot be simply fulfilled in one go. There will be several steps which are required. Most of the questions which I see on the right hand side are to do with that. So there is a question where they're asking, how do we excel in the field of Industry 4.0? Can we do that just by focusing on those courses of the 9 technologies which you mentioned in one of your slides a few minutes ago? And if that is true, then I would rather add that, what is the stage required for a student while he's in undergraduation to excel in that field?
Okay, very nice and apt question for the gathering. See, what we are here talking of is not Industry 4.0 experts coming out of our universities. That cannot happen. We are looking at students who are fit for the future. Students who can understand basics of these technologies. Suppose I tell AR, students should not blink. He should at least understand what is an AR and how it is applied. If possible, he should have done maybe a simple project on AR. So that is the level of knowledge we are asking for in the student community. And second thing is students need to get passionate about at least few of those technologies and few of those domains. So somebody is interested in data analytics, he can read a course in Coursera. He can even do a small project on data analytics and try to see how he can really excel in that field. But once again, I want to make it clear, we are not looking at experts coming out. We are looking at people who understand these technologies, understand a bit about the domain, and see where they can really find their place in those technological ecosystem or in the domain ecosystem. Was that okay?
I think that's definitely pointing out to the students to see it more in terms of developing domain rather than jumping straight to something which is
Yes.
going to follow naturally. There is a similar question here which says, it's from Yashish Vijay, with technology advancement, unemployment always follows. It's a very deep question. And he's asking, how should that be tackled?
Yeah, very perceptive question. I think this is a very popular
Yeah.
question. Whenever we talk of Industry 4.0, this question arises. Very perceptive that the person has asked this question. I can recount from my experience 25 years back when I was in a company called Fanuc, which manufactures industrial robots. We used to introduce robots in the industry. Then whenever we talk to customers and their workers, people used to feel that whenever robot comes into the manufacturing line, all the people will lose their jobs. But that did not happen. What happened instead was the worker who was actually doing a repetitive task is now doing a much more value-added task. Maybe he has to learn something, reskill himself, but he will be doing a different job at a different level. So what I mean to say is whenever such changes of Industry 4.0 happens, of course, you will not be doing your original job, but you will be doing a different job with proper reskilling and retraining. And that is where I put up that first slide. You need to accept and embrace change or you are going to be thrown off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There are linking questions. I won't be able to take all of them here, but I will probably mail them to you and receive answers from you. Few
I would like to
questions.
add one more thing for my previous one. The thing is, one is you are going to do a different layer job and also look at new jobs which are going to get created. For example, when robot comes into your line, maybe a repetitive task job is lost, but you have a new job of programming a robot, you have a new job of maintaining a robot. So that's what I am talking of. So you are getting new type of skills, new type of job requirements when such things happen.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
I think they will eventually want to know which are those skills which are required, particularly in perspective of 4.0 readiness now and then subsequently 5 years later.
Okay. If you're going to talk of now, Industry 4.0 has happened quite 4 years back itself. So this started from Germany, where German government actually made their technocrats meet and have a conference, and a committee was set up, and they gave this Industry 4.0 a name and submitted a paper in terms of how German industry can adapt so that all the reshoring comes back to Germany and they would be once again the manufacturing superpower which they were. So why I told this is Industry 4.0 has already happened. A lot of the manufacturing companies have already started going in the Industry 4.0 way. So the future is already here. So you need to look at what is that which the manufacturing industry or any industry is looking at currently. They are looking at things like big data. They are looking at things like cloud computing, data analytics, augmented reality. These are the skill sets what they're asking. Even if you open any job portal and check for jobs, these are the skill sets which are really looking at a very high level. Python programming, if I look at a software coder job, or even if you look at manufacturing jobs, they are looking at people who can operate robots, who can handle machines or computer controlled machines. So these are the variety of skill sets which are there in play. Yeah.
There is this unfortunate belief going around that Industry 4.0 is more catering to IT, electronics, mechanical kind of core engineering domains. And there is a similar question here. How is it binding around civil engineering?
Okay. I think Industry 4.0 is going to affect all the domains. It is not only affecting those three domains what you mentioned. That is why even the World Economic Forum has released a very neat video of how Industry 4.0 is going to affect our entire way of living. Coming back to the question, for example, a civil engineer, there is a talk of smart buildings, talk of buildings having sensors to detect human beings, to detect security, buildings which can sense vibrations. So Industry 4.0 is also that. So even a civil engineer has to adapt to the new things happening in his field, and that is going to be by those technologies which are going to contribute. Even for example, you see the apartments which are coming up, there could be mobile apps which can look at how many people are entering the apartments, how many are going out, what sort of water flow is happening, can this water which is coming into each apartment divided based on the usage. So all such new trends are because of this IoT. You are going to sensorize things, you are going to get data, you are going to analyze and develop solutions or applications. So it is not only affecting IT. Maybe IT is giving you the technologies, but the domains it is affecting is all around. It can affect retail, it can affect civil, it can affect smart buildings, everything.
Mhm. There is one question from Chirag Jain, which is to do with the economics. He says Industry 4.0 proposes the use of expensive technology. In a developing country like India, where capital is limited, do you think the model will be implemented efficiently in the country?
Nice question. Especially a student asking this question is quite interesting.
Hmm. Hmm.
See, any technology has a cost, but this cost basically depends on the mass usage. For example, I'm going to give an example again from the robotic field. Robots, when 25 years they were introduced, they were costing around 20 lakhs. Today, you can get a robot at 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs. Why? Because there's a mass usage of these robots and the prices have come down. Just like your smartphone. How much was the price around 15 years back and how much is the price today? So the affordability of any new technology is going to become much more. This is one thing. Second thing is cost also depends in terms of usage. Automatically, when more number of people are going to use it, the manufacturers themselves are going to reduce the cost because they are going to make profit over bigger number of people rather than a small amount of people. So new technology usage is going to be expensive in the prototype stages, but once it comes for mass adoption, technology costs come down.
Hmm.
And most of these technologies, whatever we are talking of, AR, VR, are all quite cheap today. For example, you can spend, maybe a manufacturing company can spend hardly 5 to 10 lakhs to get an augmented reality solution, which is nothing in Indian rupees.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's one question from Meghna. Sir, how does augmented reality increase productivity in companies? Which in particular industry uses this technology besides gaming?
Fantastic question. Actually, augmented reality came from gaming industry only. If you remember, around 3-4 years back, we had a game called Pokemon on our mobile phones, where you used to take your mobile phone and roam around the street and capture these Pokemon beings. So this was a classic example of augmented reality, where that animated being was coming up on a camera screen. So this was the basic usage. So any such technologies basically start from the gaming industry only. But now, once I can even apply this to a manufacturing industry, we have done products for manufacturing industry. Suppose, let us say there is a maintenance, a complex maintenance work which needs to be done on a machinery. And I have a tablet and I have a person who is not so an expert in the maintenance thing. So what I will tell him, take this tablet and go to a particular area of the machine. So he goes to the particular area of the machine and shows the camera. Immediately, the solution which is loaded on the tablet recognizes which part of the machinery is that and starts guiding him on what to do. So even a not so expert can get guided by the solution, by the augmentation which is happening on his solution to do the maintenance or to do the operation in a better way. So this leads to standard way of working. This leads to not so skilled people working on and being able to complete their task. And that's how the productivity increases. And the other big thing is there is something called as remote. So I can have an expert sitting in Bangalore and guiding a person in maybe Timbuktu to tell him how to operate a machine or how to maintain a machine. So these things really are great indications of productivity improvements. And these things are not fantasies. These solutions have been done by our own company, so they are quite in use.
We need to
Fantastic. We
close up.
are,
Close.
we are way beyond our time, Shrikant. But these questions are so important. No, you don't have to say sorry. These questions are so important and they are so valid and vital for these students. So I will probably just compile them, send them across to you. So dear students, if you have more questions, please keep sending them on the chat or on the links. I will compile them all together, send them to Aradhya. And Shrikant, I would request if you could spare some time and help us with those answers, because these are so, these are so necessary.
Somebody give me 2 seconds here to talk with Shrikant, because I want to alert you that we have this program, partnership with Automation Industry Association in Delhi, Anup Wadhwa, and IIT Delhi Sunil Jha on smart manufacturing, and it covers a lot of these concepts that you talked about, and we have several members of our colleges, faculty and students involved in taking that program through them. So I'd like to chat with you and get you involved with that program and give us some advice as we move along.
I would be happy to do that.
Engagement in that. Yeah. Thank you so much.
It would be my privilege, and I would like to take this time to thank Sampada and Krishna Vedula and the very enthusiastic student community to having invited me and giving me this opportunity to present about Industry 4.0. Thank you all.
Thank you, Radhit. This was a wonderful session. Over to you, Saeed and Shaista Tanmay.
Thank you so much for your views and suggestions. We will surely work on that. Here, let's take a short break. We will meet on the other side. Thank you.
Can't take too long a break.
Heard the saying, too much of a good thing is a bad thing? Okay, let's take ice cream for example. We probably all agree it's great. But if you only eat ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you'll get sick, which is not so great. With most things in life, the key to being healthy and happy is moderation. That is, enjoy a little bit at a time. The same holds true for computers. We spend so much time in front of screens that we need to learn to take care of ourselves, or we could get sick. For example, did you know that blinking is a natural way for our body to protect our eyes? We do it 15 to 20 times per minute without even thinking about it. But when we stare at a screen, we tend to blink just 4 or 5 times per minute. That's bad for the eyes because they can get dry. Other body parts can also suffer from sitting in front of a screen for too long. Your hands and wrists will ache from typing, your back and neck will become sore, even your butt will start to hurt. Worst of all, your mind will feel like it's stuck in the mud. Now here's a quick recipe for staying healthy. Take a break every 15 minutes to give your eyes and body a rest. Get out of your chair, maybe even take a short walk. If you have a window in the room, take a look outside. Now stretch your back, neck, and arms, and reach for the sky. No, higher. That's better. Because sitting at a computer is the exact opposite of exercise, you should take a more active break every hour or so. Step away from the computer for 5 minutes. Go for a brief walk around the house, talk to your parents and siblings, or just drink a glass of water. How about a few jumping jacks? When you get back to your computer after an active break, you will be more focused and your body will feel refreshed. Remember that all activities affect our bodies, not just sports, but also sitting in front of a screen, be it a TV, computer, or your smartphone. That's right. Take a break. Get active. Stay healthy. Your body and mind will thank you, and you'll get more done.
Hey, Claire, how are you?
Okay, how are you doing, Krishna?
I'm doing my break exercises that they told me to do.
Okay.
Stretching my hands, blinking a little bit
It's
more.
funny when you move them quickly, they disappear.
Huh? What
When you
disappears?
move your arms quickly, they disappear.
I know. I don't know why they do that. That's because the virtual background that I have.
Too fast.
They
Can
haven't
you hear
figured
me
out
okay?
that.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah. You're perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
You're perfect. Yeah. You can start, right? I think maybe people have gone to the break, so they need the time to stretch around, get a glass of water, maybe, and a cup of tea. It's early in the morning for you, Claire.
It is.
Thank you for joining us this early. That's great.
It's been a week of early meetings. Every
See,
day, something. Yesterday was the TLC cluster meeting.
when I was in the States, it was everything was in the morning. Now it's everything in the evening for me here.
Oh, hopefully
It's the
it's
other way
not
around.
too late.
So I flipped my clock. I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning there to catch all these webinars, and now all my webinars in the evening till late at night.
Too many early mornings is not good for you. Better to get up a little bit later.
Yeah,
That's been my experience.
And this student team has been amazing. The student group that's working on this, doing this, amazing group. It's fantastic.
That must be very inspiring.
All right,
to
here we
work
go.
with them.
Boom. Yep.
Okay.
For the remaining events of day one, we have Dr. Claire Comives with us. She has been a part of IUCEE since 2015 in a variety of roles. And then we have Dr. Manu Vora, who is the speaker of our soft skills session. Starting with the fourth event of day one, I would like to state that the pictures speak more than words. We all agree to that, don't we? Here comes our improvised representative topic, the project proposal writing. These writing skills are not about the complete bundle of information, but also the best way to learn by pictures. This skill teaches you how to attain more attention towards your projects rather than achieving the primary goal. As getting what you achieve is not going to give you an A+, but your project management has to catch the limelight. Those skills help you to deliver best presentations and aimed information to the seekers, which will lead you to be an orator and also a leader. Here with us, we have a very bold personality, Dr. Claire Comives, obtained a PhD in chemical engineering at the University of Pittsburgh. She has graduated 20 master's students, has received over $1 million in the grants since joining SJSU, including from the National Science Foundation and Indo-US Collaborative Research Grant with IIT Delhi. Now I would like to take the pleasure of calling Dr. Claire to picturize about this topic. The stage is all yours, ma'am.
So I'll share my screen. Okay, good morning. I'm afraid I don't have too many pictures. I have a few pictures, but this is more about writing an effective proposal. All right, so I'm going to set it here to slideshow. All right, so I understand that you want to write proposals for Engineers Without Borders and other projects that you're trying to get money to work on. So I've identified learning outcomes for this session. First, you need to be able to define the impact of your idea. So you have an idea, but you want to be able to describe why it's going to make a difference. You also have to be able to explain that you are able to complete the project. Then the project proposal is going to be built around defining measurable outcomes. So you have to be able to explain exactly what you are going to do. And then you need to be able to describe that with impact. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you today how to write an impactful project summary. Just, maybe one page or a paragraph. And then finally describe the methods for completing your research. So if you can do all of these things well, you have a good shot at getting money for your project. So a successful proposal has high impact. It makes a big difference. You can complete it. You are able to complete the project. It's clearly written and it's not wordy. It just says exactly what you need to say without saying too many words. It's an important topic. It's going to make a difference. And it has a sustainable outcome. So it's not something that you build and it'll fall apart and that's the end of that. And you also can describe how much money it's going to cost, and it won't cost, the Indian gross national product. Okay, so what is impact? The project has to have a high impact. So the definition of impact is having a marked effect or influence. So a high impact project results in saving lives, in furthering technology in a significant way, possibly you can commercialize it, or protecting the environment. So the project will have an impact beyond just the discipline that you are in. And the impact should be clearly defined and supported with literature. So you should be able to find literature that supports the impact of your project. And finally, you have to be able to show, let's say you were going to fix all of the pollution in India, that would be a very impactful goal. But if you cannot accomplish it, then it's not good for anything. So you have to be able to show that you can accomplish the goal, that you have the qualifications to complete the project. So how do you quantitate the impact of your project? First of all, identify the magnitude of the problem you're trying to solve. So let's say, how many people will be affected? Can you hear me okay? How many people will be affected by the problem? What is the annual cost? For example, if you are improving the environment, how is that's going to save money for the quality of life? Lives could be saved. So you can describe actually a cost to the problem that is currently existing. So if you are creating a product, let's say you're building something, how does it fit the better, faster, cheaper model? So whatever exists out there to solve this problem, can you do it better? Does your instrument do the same thing faster? Or is it cheaper than what is currently available? And then you also need to provide supporting documentation to show that this impact is not just something that you pulled out of your head, but actually it is supported based on literature. Okay, another important point is that you can actually do the project. So when the proposal reviewers are looking at your proposal, they're going to say, does this person have the necessary expertise? Can they complete the project? And it's okay if you look at it, you say, I don't know how to do this part of the project. If there's a part that you don't know how to do, no problem. All you need to do is find somebody to work with you who can help you. So that person is a consultant on your proposal. So can you identify what needs to be done to prove that your project will be a success? Can you define milestones for the project? In industry, when industry takes on a project, they define go, no-go points. So they'll say we have to achieve a certain milestone. It has to be within a certain cost by 3 months from now. And if it doesn't achieve that, we will drop the project. Why do they do that? Because they don't want to keep throwing money after a project that's going to be a failure. So can you identify what are those points in your project? Does your university have the required facilities? Is there an existing technology that can give the same outcome? That's okay, but then you need to make it very clear in your proposal that that technology is out there, but that you can do your project better, faster, or cheaper. Okay, so if you need somebody to help you with this, maybe there's somebody at your school, maybe your favorite faculty person can help you. Maybe you need more expertise. Maybe you need to go into the literature and find out somebody who has the skills to do what you need. All right, so what you need to do is reach out to them by email. And many people will be willing to help you. Maybe not the first person you ask or the second person you ask, but don't give up. You will find the person that can help you. And you should try to get them to write a letter confirming that they will help you. Is there somebody from industry that you could collaborate with? That I am sure for Engineers Without Borders, that would be a very powerful collaborative group, that you have somebody from industry who's willing to work with you. Next, can you show preliminary results? Now, this may be from literature. You may have to show from literature another study that's been done that proves that your research can be completed. Show a graphic if it's helpful to prove that your project will work. You have to cite research that is closely related to your project. Writing a good proposal is actually quite a bit of hard work. You have to do a lot of literature search. So let's talk about the literature search. You need to read the literature because in your project, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't do a project that has been done or that you can go to the local grocery store and buy something that does the project better, all right? So you want to use the literature to develop the context of your research. How does your work grow from or relate to work that has already been done? You also can establish the significance of your work. You want to be able to show how your work will fill a gap or push forward research in a new direction. And you can also use the literature to refine your idea and approach. So you can gain new ideas from the literature. Maybe you find something that's been done differently, and that gives you an idea of how to do something even better. And you should also use a literature format, write the citations in a prescribed format. It may not be prescribed by the proposal, the request for proposals, but that's okay. Just be consistent in how you write your citations. Okay, so let's talk about writing the project summary. This is a paragraph or a page, depending on how the request for proposals describes it. For the Indian Department of Science and Technology, this project summary should only be 500 words, so it's very brief. But why is it so important? It turns out that the project summary is the part that actually gets read. The reviewers will read your paragraph and decide, will I read the rest of the proposal or not? If they like what's in your project summary, then they're going to read the rest of your proposal. So this project summary is more important even than the rest of the proposal. So your project summary should have just a few paragraphs in it. The first paragraph describes the background of the research and provide 1 or 2 sentences describing the knowledge gap the project will fill. And I'm going to give you some examples in a minute. Okay, the second paragraph introduces the solution that fills the knowledge gap. Okay, in that second paragraph, you need to convince your reviewers that you have the solution to solve that problem, to answer that knowledge gap, and that you have the expertise to accomplish the solution. And then each additional paragraph is going to be dedicated to one specific measurable outcome. Okay, and I'm going to show you in the next few slides, we're going to talk about how to do that. Okay, the first sentence, describe briefly what your project is going to be about, convey a sense of importance or urgency to your research. Explain why it is critical that you conduct the research. Are you saving lives? Are you preventing cancer? What is it that you are actually trying to do? Avoid starting by bad things happen to a lot of people, but rather frame the problem. So here's an example. This is a proposal, one of my proposals. Okay, this project addresses a significant problem in rural India, namely mortality and morbidity due to snake bite. It's a concise statement of what is the problem that you are trying to address. Okay, let's move on to the second sentence. After your first sentence comes a statement of the knowledge gap, the information that is not yet known. So you want to clearly state the gap in knowledge that needs to be addressed. Okay, here's the second part of the first paragraph. There exists no effective snake bite therapy that does not require hospitalization, resulting in significant time between bite and intervention. In addition, hospitals usually dramatically inflict a significant financial burden to the victims, who are most often the rural poor. So this gives a statement of what knowledge gap there is, that there is no therapy that doesn't require going to the hospital. So this is the major problem with snake bite therapies. You have to go to the hospital. That's a problem. Okay. Next, let's talk about the proposal. Your proposal should be easy to read by people who may not be an expert in your field. So you should have the proposal should not just be one long verbiage of what you're trying to do. You need to organize the proposal into sections that can be easily located so that reviewers can find the information they need. Make sure you don't have misspellings, typos, and use one font. These seem like little details, but it's actually very important to present your proposal in a clean and neat way. Avoid long sentences and word repetitions in the same sentence. And here's another suggestion. Before the deadline, I mean, we all have this inclination to put things off until the day it's due, and then we throw it together and we submit it. Here's a better idea. Try writing your proposal 1 month ahead of the due date. Then wait a few days and read it again, and you will have great ideas of how to review it because it'll be very fresh in your mind. Okay, and then if you can get your hands on a funded proposal, then you can look at the proposal and see what's really good about it and try to model your proposal after the funded proposal. Okay, then in the executive summary, we have to define measurable project outcomes. So good outcomes are measurable, okay? Something that can be measured or completed. If you're building a prototype, it should be something that you can actually build, that you don't need some type of fancy machining or, you know, injection molding of polymers that you don't have access to. Okay, the project outcomes are specific enough to achieve in the time frame of the project that you are proposing. And you want to utilize appropriate verbs according to your discipline. So we talk about in academics, we write learning outcomes. I hope your professors write learning outcomes, and they always start with a verb. So in fact, your project outcomes will also start with a verb, and they represent milestones in accomplishing the complete research project goals. So why do you need outcomes? They tell the reviewers exactly what you intend to accomplish with your funding. Okay, so it tells the reviewers that you understand the steps of the research process. They provide a guide for you to complete your project. Okay, let's look at an example set of outcomes. I think you can understand these because these are something that is true in every walk of life in every country. Okay, so outcome 1, establish, there's the verb, establish the extent to which food insecurity is related to the incidence of obesity, prediabetes, and diabetes. So what this project is going to do is to determine what is food insecurity? Food insecurity is when people do not know for sure if they will have food tomorrow or not. Okay, so they don't know that. So if they're not going to have food tomorrow, does that mean that they eat whatever they can eat today, resulting in obesity, prediabetes, and diabetes? Okay, the second outcome is determine whether food insecurity alters a response to a diabetes self-management and intervention. So if you teach people how to prevent diabetes in their food intake, will they follow it if they don't know whether they're going to have food tomorrow or not? And outcome 3, conduct a pilot randomized controlled trial of a fruits and vegetables voucher in a population of food insecure patients with poorly controlled diabetes. So this is the final goal of the project, is if we give them free, healthy food, will that help them control their diabetes? Okay, so I'm going to summarize my presentation here. First of all, begin your proposal journey with a good literature review. What is known? Go out to the literature. Is your problem solved by somebody else? Can you use that information to solve your problem even better? And if you're solving it for the local community that doesn't have access to what is being presented in the literature, you've got a project. Okay, just because something is done in Australia or in Europe, it's still legitimate to solve it in India. So that doesn't mean, just because you find it in the literature doesn't mean that you can't do the project. It means that you need to redo the project in India for the population that you're trying to serve. Okay, then you need to define the knowledge gap that your project will fill. Perhaps it's that this project hasn't been done in your local area. Okay, then you need to define 3 or 4 specific, measurable, achievable outcomes to accomplish your project plan. Then develop a strategy to complete the project and basically to attain the outcomes that you've defined. And then think through what could go wrong. What happens what if the worst happens? Well, think about what could go wrong and what would I do if that thing goes wrong. If you can explain how to overcome that, then it's okay, and you can put that in your proposal. And then invite people to participate in your project and also to review the proposal. Okay, that's all I have to say, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Fantastic. Let's take a few questions here. Very, very clearly explained, Claire. I think it's extremely relevant to all the students that are here, because many of them are members of student chapters, Engineering Without Borders, and they're all part of courses like the Clean Green Campus and other projects. So this really gives them a roadmap how to write good proposals. So let's take a few chat questions on the chat. Let's see if anybody has things that they want to bring up, come in. Okay, question answers. Let's take a few questions. Okay, ma'am, how accessing effectiveness is different from accessing the feasibility of a new intervention?
Accessing the effectiveness. Okay, sure. Okay, effectiveness is going to be, does your widget or whatever you're trying to build or the code you're trying to write or the app, okay, how is that going to solve a problem? that is the effectiveness. Okay, feasibility is whether you actually have the ability to do it, to do the project, and that problem can be solved. So that's the feasibility. Can you actually solve the problem? And effectiveness is whether or not that thing that you write is going to solve the problem. Okay,
Excellent.
one thing is whether you can achieve it, and the other thing is whether it'll actually work.
Okay, excellent. That was from Renuka Prasanna. Looking for other comments and questions here. Let's see, we have, let me jump in there for a minute and see how do we make sure our proposals are more impactful, and how to design them so that they're not neglected away, or rather pushed aside. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, good question. First of all, I'm sure that Professor Krishna has talked to you about the grand challenges. I suspect that's going to come up somewhere in this summit.
Yeah, they've talked about the sustainability goals. Ramiro talked about them. Yeah, already.
So if you look at those sustainability goals and the engineering grand challenges, does your project fit into one of those? Does it answer one of those problems? If it does, it's impactful. Okay, so you can also think about how is your project going to reach more people? How are you going to get your project known? All right, the impact is very important. Now, the truth is that your project may be an excellent solution for a small number of people. That doesn't mean that it won't be enough of an impact. So if you can describe how your project is going to solve an important problem, even though it may only be affected by a few people. I mean, I learned that, for example, I was all into my snakebite problem, and I learned that snakebite affects 100,000 people in India every year. That sounded like a lot of people to me. But then when I got to India, I learned that 150,000 people die every year from car accidents. So then I started to think, well, maybe snakebite isn't the biggest problem in the world. So the idea is that you just have to find how many people is your problem going to help. Okay, what is the main aspect to push our idea into project and product? Again, you need to be able to determine whether you can successfully complete the project. So is there a part that you don't know how to do? Get some coaching. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Asking for help is not a sign that you're stupid. Asking for help is a sign that you are resourceful. Okay, so talk to people, get some input from people who have done something similar, and then you will be able to be more successful in accomplishing it. Would it be possible for you to share the PowerPoint? Absolutely. I've already shared it with Syed, and I believe that Krishna sir has access, so you can go ahead and use it.
Okay, great. So let's take this last question from Vinayak. This is suggest we have to mention another project which is exciting but not so convenient, or do we have to be more focused and make it a unique point of your own for breaking the barrier, I guess. I don't know. You can read the question yourself. I guess he's talking about whether they, in a proposal whether they should mention other projects which are already being done, but haven't quite solved the problem, or just be focused on your own unique idea that you have.
You definitely need to talk about the projects that have been done that are similar. Don't hide those. Okay, it's important for you to be very transparent, very straightforward in your proposal. What has already been done? That's not going to mean that you can't get your project funded. You should explain what's already been done and why your project will serve a different group of people, or why it's better, or what other reason why you should still be doing your project.
Great. Let's call it quits at that. Even though there are a few more questions, we'll move on. So go on. Go ahead, team. Yay!
It is a quick instruction to the participants that the Google form link, feedback form link has been shared to you in the chat box. Thank you so much, ma'am, for putting your valuable insights on this topic.
My pleasure.
Over to you, Dikshit.
What are we all doing here? Talking about cyber securities and taking ideas to develop the infotech systems, right? Well, what about the absolute best thing of being an artist, a developer who takes charge of all technologies? Overall, in this case, we are being an orator and leader. How about becoming an entrepreneur at the same time? Isn't it amazing? This session of sustainability in entrepreneurship deals with the smartest reason for being an entrepreneur. Hereby, we will be handling not only information but also creating new job opportunities and income sources for the further community by sustaining old business models. Creating job creators is our motto. Today, we are blessed to have such an eminent personality with us. Dr. Ranji has a BTech in Metallurgical Engineering from IIT Varanasi, MS in Mechanical Engineering from North Carolina University, and a PhD in Material Science and Engineering from North Carolina State University. So, without further delay, I request Dr. Ranji Vidyanathan to please enlighten us. Please, sir.
Thank you. Everybody can hear me? Okay. I think Dr. Claire gave a very nice introduction to what I'm going to talk about. So, student entrepreneurship for sustainability is a special passion of mine. And I hope that I'm able to convey some ideas and information about all this to you. And my contact information is given there. Next, please. Oh, okay. I'm going to talk about how do you define sustainable entrepreneurship, and some strategy and some process and some organization, what you can do and things like that, and how will it impact on startup launches. Next, please. Okay, so it is not enough that you have the idea that you want to create a sustainable entrepreneurship. So, just like Dr. Claire was saying, how do you come up with successful ideas and how do you get them funded? And for that, the most important thing is when you have to go and talk to people. You have to go and convince people to buy your product, or you have to convince people to invest in your product. So for that, you have to know what is called value proposition. How is this better than somebody else's? So just like, that summary that Dr. Claire was talking. So in entrepreneurship terms, we call it value proposition. So you have to know how is it better? How is it faster? How it is cheaper? You need to know that. But the next and the most important thing is you can't just be all the same kind of people, because if you do that, you are never going to understand how to solve a problem. If you have a team, if you have a product, you're always going to have problems. So you need to be able to solve those problems. And the key to that is to form a successful team that is not all the same kind of people. So if you are an engineer, you need to have somebody from business, somebody from managing. So all those people is very important, and you need to know how to create that team and what is the mechanics of that team. And the final thing that is important here is if you create the product, who is going to buy that? Why should somebody buy it? Why should they pay for it? So you need to know how your product fits into the market. You can't just create any product and think, that somebody is going to come and buy it. Next, please. So in this terms, we need to know what is sustainable entrepreneurship. So there are a couple of different ways to define that. So in the literature says that sustainable entrepreneurship is the discovery, creation, and exploitation of entrepreneurial opportunities that contribute to sustainability. Generally, it needs to have social and environmental gains for others in society. There are so many opportunities that are out there. I mean, the innumerable number of opportunities are out there, and we need to come up with those. Next, please. So in general terms, they use the term sustainability to broadly indicate programs, initiatives, and actions aimed at preservation of a particular resource. That means you want to preserve water, you want to preserve energy, you want to save the community, you want to save rainwater, you want to collect rainwater and provide it to your local community. You want to make sure that things are done cleanly and neatly, all those kinds of things. So in general terms, it should cover 4 things: human, social, economic, and environmental. They are known as the 4 pillars of sustainability. Next, please. Okay. So why do you want to get into sustainable entrepreneurship? So what you will find is that even if you don't go and start your own company, if you work for a company, if you come up with a product or if you come up with an idea that will benefit the company and also help that company to incorporate sustainability into your decision-making process, it will have tremendous financial advantages. And if you are going to start a company, you will find that more and more investors are interested in supporting those kinds of entrepreneurships. And this is the key to long-term profitability. I mean, you don't want to start a company and the company fail within 6 months. You don't want to do that, right? So you want to, and these kinds of activities are very important for supporting your profitability. Next. Okay. And so along those terms, there is a terminology called green entrepreneurship. And what is that? So generally, entrepreneurial ideas are all ideas with a high level of risk. But if it is green entrepreneurship, if it is sustainable entrepreneurship, it should have a net positive effect on the natural environment. And at the same time, it should be financially sustainable. Yes, please. Next, please. Okay, so where do you find them? I think one of the previous speakers talked about the grand challenges. So grand challenges are one place where you can find, but where else can you find them? So if you look at the industry specific trade magazines, especially if they are year-end issues, I've given an example here. If you go and look at that, what are the major engineering challenges of the next decade that needs to have sustainability as a major part of it? So if you go and look at that, you can find so many opportunities for you. Okay, next one. So if you look at some of the things, I think some of the previous speakers spoke about that. So our infrastructure is breaking down. So, for example, if there is a hurricane or a tornado or earthquake, the infrastructure in the locality is completely destroyed. So you have to start from scratch. You have to build up that thing again. But how do you do that in the most economical way? Then, when you are an engineer, most of the time, many of us are interested in going and working in very rich parts of the world. But there are so many opportunities that are available in the rural parts of the country, our own country. So that is one place where you have opportunities. Then how do you reduce the carbon footprint in manufacturing? How do you reduce the footprint in the use of your product? So you use what is called green, so generally you call it green engineering. And then how can you reduce the use of uh, fuels? How can you use alternative energy like solar energy or other forms of energy, wind energy? So these are some of the problems, and each of those problems have multiple solutions and multiple opportunities. So if you look at them, you can find hundreds and hundreds of opportunities. Next one, please. So there are some more examples. I mean, the cities are getting crowded. So people are trying to come back to the villages to work there, but the villages don't always have all the opportunities. So how can you improve like for example, how do you improve the broadband coverage of the villages? How can you improve that for all the houses in that? I mean, now in India, India and world over, we are all faced with studying virtually, right? So every kid, every parent is all on the online and trying to teach our kids. So how do you improve that opportunity? And you must have heard about a lot of stories about kids not getting interested. If you're only going to be being taught online, STEM, engineering and math and science is probably not going to be that much interesting. So how do you appeal that? How do you make it appealing to young children? So those are all opportunities. And you must have heard about a lot of these internet companies stealing our information and bank accounts and things like that, being hacked and things like that. How do you safeguard our data? And the most important, climate change. There are so many climate change challenges and opportunities. These challenges are opportunities. Why? Because in our own country, more than 6 out of 10 cities that will be affected by flooding if the seas rise due to temperature rise. They are in India and China, and address each and every one of those problems. I read about a company in China, a student company in China that was taking dust and things like that from it and collecting it and cleaning the air. So those are the kinds of opportunities that you can get. And if you address every problem, you have hundreds and thousands of those opportunities. Next, please. So what are the trends in sustainability? And so you can't just use the same type of materials. If you keep using the same material, we are going to run out of all the available materials. So how do you improve the sustainability in building materials? And if you create energy, you don't want to waste that energy. So if there is excess energy being created, can you store it? And the other important thing is, how can you reuse the same materials over and over again? So that is called a circular economy. And a personal goal of mine, and I would like you to please go and Google this term, microplastics. Please go. I think a couple of years ago, Dr. Michael Milligan talked about microplastics in his presentation at our ICTI meetings. So please go and look at that. And how can you reduce that plastic pollution? And if you have to do that, you have to take action and you have to educate the public. So how, I mean, even that might be an opportunity for you. And if you do this, you have to convince our government to transparency through data management and reporting. Then only, I mean, we all have to be involved in all these things right from top to bottom. And for that, there needs to be transparency. Next, please.
We need to start winding up.
Okay.
Anji.
Yeah, last one. Yeah. So these are some of the sustainability trends. So, you know, I mean, I would like to share this presentation with you all, and you know, you can ask me questions later if you are interested. Next one, please. So key takeaway is that customers as well as investors are becoming aware of sustainability. It is not a buzzword, and those who incorporate sustainability in their business practices and companies will have an economic advantage over their competition. So that you as an entrepreneur will become successful if you introduce sustainability into your products. Next, please. I think questions. Yes. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Ranji. You opened our minds to so many different possibilities here. In particular, because one of the main theme of the presentations tomorrow, most of the students who are with us is on sustainable development goals. So they each have to pick one of the goals and make a presentation on what they're going to do to address that need. And so what you've done is opened up their minds to saying that this is not just social service, but it's really something that they can actually start a company and make money out of and make a career out of some of these activities that they might be trying to think about. So it's a, it's a possibility, lots and lots of good possibilities there to make a career and become an entrepreneur. So with that, let's open it up for questions and see what other, can there be service-based startups that have effect on sustainability? I think that's what you're trying to tell us, right? So Ranji, can you address that question? I think
yes. Yes, I mean there is like for example, if you for example you monitor the energy use in a company, that is a service-based thing, and if you can help them to monitor that, hey, this is where you are wasting your energy, so maybe that is where you need to control the energy uses. So that could be one service-based startup. And green entrepreneurship, like, for example, if you try to reduce the use of plastic, I mean, like, reduce the use of plastic wastage. I mean, not the use of plastics, but reduce the wastage of plastics that are thrown into the lakes and rivers and seas and things like that. That would be a green entrepreneurial activity.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I guess there are not too many more questions, but I think what I would like to tell everybody is Dr. Ranji Vaidyanathan actually is very, very active in teaching entrepreneurship. And in fact, he's one of the instructors for our course that we have, entrepreneurship course that we are running right now for many of the students that are here with us today. So that's great. Fantastic. Good job, Ranji. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And let's conclude it. Here we go. A round of applause.
Thank you.
All the students will receive a link of feedback form. So please provide your feedback over there. And thank you so much, sir, for your views and suggestions. And we'll surely work on that, sir.
Thank you.
Skills such as listening and writing ensure that there is a smooth flow of ideas without any conflicts. This creates a productive and healthy work environment. Soft skills set you apart. Good communication and negotiation skills can help you gain an edge over the candidates. Hard skills can be learned in a limited time, but these skills are harder and take longer to develop since they depend more on your nature rather than knowledge level. Having these skills can help you deal with challenges in the workplace. It is widely said that technical skills may get you the job, but soft skills can make you or break you as an engineer. Dr. Vora is the best example of an eloquent personality. He is the chairman and president of Business Excellence, a global quality management consulting firm. So I request Dr. Vora to entertain us. We would like to hear the new briefings from this regard.
Okay. So thank you, Ferry, for a kind introduction. I would like to thank Dr. Krishna for inviting me, and Syed also for inviting me for this wonderful conference where my young friends and educators are trying to get some new ideas so that they can progress in life and go from learners to become leaders. So that's the focus of my presentation. And let me share my thoughts, and thank you for allowing me to move the slides myself so I can control the time. I was given total 20 minutes to speak and 5 to 10 minutes for Q&A. I hope that is still okay, Krishna, or we are slipping behind on the schedule.
Slipping behind, so whatever you can do to help shave a few minutes off your presentation would help.
Sure, I will do my best. Thank you. So as mentioned in the opening, the soft skills are extremely critical. So that's the focus of my presentation. Now, I would like all of you to focus on this simple model. As I mentioned, that all of you learners should become the leaders. And how do you do that? You need to be fully engaged. And for that engagement, you need to personally get involved in your own learning. And when you learn something new, you should be open to apply it right away so that the retention is better. And when you apply new ideas, new learning, you should be able to share it widely with your classmates if you are still in the colleges and universities. If you are a faculty, you should share some exciting ideas with other faculties and build on the synergies. And once you begin to work either during the internship or final placement, share some good things which are working or things which are not working so everybody benefits. So you are creating not just the island, but you are connecting the bridges so that everybody becomes best they can be. Now, this is the slide I listened to at the conclusion of the soft skill program from Dr. Krishna, National Board of Accreditation. These are the graduate attributes required for the graduates to have in India. So first 5 items are the hard skills, which are taught in the engineering colleges at a various degree of success. Some are excellent and some are not so good. But the focus on the bottom 7 items, these are the soft skills where the focus is very limited or none. So I think it's obligation of all of us to understand what is required to make an engineer the great engineer so that they can start working in the field with the proper skills. These things needs to be taught at the universities and colleges, and students should be empowered with these soft skills. So in terms of lifelong learning, the beautiful quote from Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, we just had a Teachers' Day on 5th of September, birthday of Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, who served also as a Vice Chancellor, and he was the second President of India. He says, when we think we know, we cease to learn. And this is absolutely true. We should be the lifelong learners. We can't be just having a degree and then take it easy that, yes, I have become an engineer and I've conquered the world. No, we are just starting your journey. And I can tell you, there are so many opportunities to become the lifelong learners. So very briefly about the importance of soft skills. These are the hard data through various surveys which point to 90% or more executives value soft skill more than the hard skills because these are hard to come by. And ability to work in a team is the most desirable attribute of new college graduates ahead of the hard skills. So keep in mind, when you graduate, the work you do in the industry, in any domain, requires teamwork. So inculcate that teamwork, leadership, time management, decision-making, meeting management, etc., so that you are good at what the assignments you are given, and you continue to grow. Now, I'm going to spend a couple more minutes on this very important soft skill, that is communication. This should become the lifelong pursuit for all of us. Second half of the slide is very interesting. No matter what job you have in life, your success is determined 5% by your academic credentials, 15% by your professional experiences, however, 80% by your communication skills. And you need to fill in the blank other soft skill I just spoke about: leadership, time management, teamwork, decision making, project management, etc. So we need to work on improving the verbal and nonverbal, written and presentation skills. They all need to be meaningful. And how do you get better at it? You need to have practice. So picking up on Dr. Ranji's presentation, if you are going to be an entrepreneur, you come up with a concept, new idea, you have to share that. You need to communicate that to the prospective funders, the venture capitalists, etc. So if you do not have a good communication skill, you will not progress. One quick story, there was a technical company, people with 20 to 30 years experience. A new person just joined, and that person had a okay technical skill, but excellent in communication and soft skills, ability to get work done through others. He got a promotion, so people who were in the company for a long time got disturbed, went to the manager. Why are you promoting this new person suddenly and so quickly? So he sat everybody down saying, look, I can hire all of you techies, dime a dozen, but to find a rare combination of understanding of technical thing, but better at communication and soft skill. It's a rare combination. That's why he's getting promoted. So remember, communication will carry you throughout the life. So keep working on this skill. Here is a great example from the World Economic Forum, the top 10 skills required in 2022 for the graduates to be successful. And there are 4 items carried over in color from 2020. Now, when you focus on these 10 items on the left column, you will realize that none of these and most of these skills are not taught in the university curriculum. And that's a shame. We need to be keeping in step with what the workplace is looking for during the academic curriculum building. Now, I want to share with you the successful case study on Leadership Excellence Series project we deployed starting with my alma mater in 2014, between 2014 to 2016 at IIT BHU Varanasi. I've been teaching in India at business school, engineering schools since 2006. I come across brilliant students in India. However, they do not focus much of their time on soft skills. As a result, they do not do very well during the studies, as well as they have a hard time getting a good placement, or if they find a job, they have a hard time holding the job. So we started this 12 session series, 6 items in blue, soft skills, and 6 items in red, quality management knowledge, because that's my discipline. And using Google Hangout initially and later stage, Zoom imparted this program to the students, faculties, and staff. And this program was expanded to 50 colleges and universities in 14 states of India. And between first 3 years, we reached out to 675,000 people. And now during the pandemic, I'm very happy to report, which will be shown in a slide coming up, total 900,000. So 9 lakh people have benefited. And the entire project is written up on the American Society for Quality India website. On the Leadership Excellence Project, link is provided here. So, as I mentioned, we continued this effort, and the pandemic provided a great opportunity to leverage the online platform with variety of Zoom, WebEx, GoToMeeting, etc. Happy to report that I'm completing 50 webinars, reaching out to 2 lakhs students, faculty, and professionals, most of them in India, teaching soft skills and importance of soft skills. So here is a snapshot of number of places where the soft skill program has been delivered over the years. And we just recently concluded under IUCEE 6 sessions on soft skills, where over 3,000 plus people either attended or have seen the YouTube videos. I want to take a minute to explain the impact of technology on spreading the knowledge. So top right picture, you see Swami Nikhilesh. He was secretary at Vadodara Ramakrishna Mission. He took me to Bizek studio in Gandhinagar, capital of Gujarat, where Mr. A.J. Shah, shown in white shirt, he was then Commissioner of Higher Education, now retired. He gave me 45 minutes to talk on effective time management. And by satellite, we connected with 450 colleges and 5 lakh students benefited on this very important topic of effective time management. It has been recorded. The YouTube is shown here on the link. And a PDF file has been shared for this presentation, and I'm sure Syed and Sridhar, they will put it up on the website at the appropriate place in terms of this student summit. So 2 quick slides on leadership. If your actions inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are the leader. What is teamwork? A team is many hands and one mind. On effective time management, the Eisenhower box gives us the guidance that on the x-axis we have urgent or not urgent, y-axis important or not important. Focus on the top right quadrant, important, not urgent. That's where we need to focus our energy and time 90 to 95% of the time. That is planning, prevention, training, connecting with the stakeholders, etc. And when you do good work, take some time out to recharge your battery. Top left, important and urgent, 5 to 10%, that's firefighting, get it out of the way. Bottom 2 quadrants, no place, we should delete both of them. Now, one last concept I want to talk before we conclude, and that is understanding our own strengths to leverage it during studies and at the careers so that you become the most successful. So we can borrow the learnings from the Gallup organization. It's a marketing company. They define strength as the ability to consistently provide near perfect performance. Would it not be nice that whatever you work on gives 100% successful results? And strength is defined as a multiplier of talent, time investment. Strength in the middle, in the graphics, 3 bubbles at the top, thinking, feeling, and behaving, that is talent. Building up skills, knowledge, and experience, that's your investment. Multiplier of the 2 is the strength. Now, how do you find out your own top 5 strengths? You have to buy a book called Strengths Finder 2.0. It's available online as well. E-version is open. You need to buy a new copy. Back of the book, there is a sealed envelope with a code. Using the code, you take an online test in 30 minutes. Once you finish the test, hit the button for results, you will get your top 5 strengths. And as an example, and by the way, Gallup has studied people from around the world and identified 34 major strengths. You will get your own 5 strengths based on the way you answer the questions. So my strengths are arranger, more like a conductor of a symphony, where I arrange all the pieces so beautiful music comes out. I'm an achiever with a drive to keep moving. I'm a learner to go from journey of ignorance to the competence. I'm a maximizer, focus on excellence, first from myself, and then people around surrounding me. And last, relator, when I come in contact with people, try to build relationship. So the guidance is to leverage your strengths. So first understand your strengths, get the book, get your 5 strengths, put it up on your resume just below the objective, my top 5 strengths. That will allow the interviewer to understand how you have leveraged your strengths and have some constructive conversation around it. So leverage your strengths in studies and in the career. And the Gallup has one more book which has a humorous sentence. You don't teach a pig to sing, it annoys the pig and wastes your time. So in reality, we focus on negative, not on positive. So theory of strength is 180-degree apart. Find out your strength, focus on strength and keep working on it. And make sure your weaknesses do not come in the way. Triangle of success. You need to have a great knowledge base where you are at the colleges and the universities to getting all the basics, the information, data, etc. You need to build the soft skills, the goal setting, time management, reasoning, communication, interpersonal skills, and continue to have positive attitude, self-motivation, self-confidence, integrity, honesty, optimism, enthusiasm, cooperation, and commitment. It's a very great dynamite combination to have a knowledge, skills, and attitude. When you continue to work on all 3, you will be a best engineer and you will do the maximum impact in the workplace. So with that, I want to end my presentation. And once again, thank you, Krishna.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Once again, I mean, every time I hear you, I get more inspired. I like the one about the pig in particular. Don't try to teach a pig to sing. Okay, so questions coming in. Let's have more questions come in. Question here from Rohan says, who makes a good leader? Okay, choose between these two. The one who takes time and gives a big decision, which is good for everyone, or the one who makes a quick decision and is trusted by everyone, but is a bit uncertain.
Well, it depends on the situation. When you have a time at hand, you listen to everybody, make a collective decision, and this is where your teamwork comes into play. You have decided upfront what is the team norm, how the decisions will be made. So in general, you have many options. One is consensus. Everybody has to agree. Second one is democratic ruling, 51%, you go with it. Or in some critical cases where time is of such a critical nature that you have to decide at a small amount of time, by quickly listening and getting the opinion, and the team leader will take the call. So it's all situational, and this has to be all discussed when the team is getting formed up front, so there are no hard feelings at the end.
Good answer. Question from Yashesh. Apart from soft skills, what moral, societal values, ethics must an individual possess?
Yeah. So ethics is one thing I would say we all need to focus on, and this begins at the home front, where our parents teach us the ethics, not by teaching, but by behaving in the way they manage their own ethics and how ethical they are. That's where the ethical journey starts. So we observe them, we imbibe from them what are the good ethical values, and we need to continue to work on it. So while you are at the colleges and university, make a commitment not to cheat ever. I can tell you with confidence that in my 4 years at IIT BHU, I never cheated. I actually allowed my friends, not in the exam, but outside the exam, to have my notes reviewed and ask me questions, etc. So focus on your building up your character by making a pledge and a commitment not to cheat. So you need to work hard to understand the concepts and the foundation. Don't try to mug up and try to get a good score. So if you just do not focus on understanding the basics, you will run out of the gas at the end. In a sense, you will do okay in the exam, but when you are confronted with real life problems, you have no base, no knowledge, and you will fall apart. So focus on learning while you are there at the colleges and university, maintain the ethics and continue to maintain the ethics in the workplace. So for example, when you are doing a timesheet for travel, etc., do not fudge the data. Do not try to take things which is not yours. Whatever is your legitimate things, only work on your thing and do not try to grab things from others. And it applies to taking away the credit at the end. When you work in the team, members of the team should be recognized based on their contribution, not one person, the team leader taking away all the credit. And that's also part of ethics and ethical journey. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, and I will take the last question here, which is when I'm doing an interview, when I or a resume on the interview, mentioning my weaknesses and threats, is that a good idea?
No, you want to build on your strengths. So my request was take that Strengths Finder 2.0 book, take the test, write down your top 5 strengths just below the objective, and have a story to tell when you are asked, can you explain one of these strengths which help you to do well in studies, or if you have done the internship, how well that strength help you to manage the project better. And in terms of the weaknesses, you should know what your weaknesses are. And that question always comes, what is your weakness and what you plan to do about it? So you need to build a positive story around it, that I have a weakness about not being on time, but now I have focused on learning how to become punctual. So slowly I'm coming into that category of attending everything on time, not wasting anybody else's time, and finishing things ahead of time. So you can turn around the negative into positive, but you should do that analysis before you go for interview.
Great. On that note, I'm going to close the session and hand it back to us.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us. Here's the end of the day. We are concluding with this, the imperative interactions of participants' clarification of doubts and queries. So we would be glad to hear your opinions and understandings. Also, we have put down a Google form link
Veena Kumar
for you all.
Session by Veena Kumar. What happened to that?
No, this is the last session, Krishna.
We have one more session? No, one more.
No,
Right?
no,
No?
I don't think so. According to schedule, I was the last one today.
Is that tomorrow or not? Okay, that's fine. I don't know.
That's tomorrow, sir.
Oh, that's tomorrow. Okay, Veena is waiting. I thought Veena was waiting for. Sorry about that. Okay, go.
No issue, sir.
I'm enjoying the.
I saw you sitting there. I said, "Oh no, man." Okay, go.
No. I just want to.
Sorry,
I just want to attend.
Sorry to interrupt you. Interrupt your query.
That's okay, sir. That's okay, sir. So we have put down a Google form link for your suggestions regarding day 1 event. Now, Saeed will be entertaining the questions and suggestions from audience for day 1. You can take it over, Saeed.
Thank you, Ferry. If any questions related to the poster presentation, if anyone can help me out,
I'll help you out. I'll help you out. Let's get some questions, guys. Tomorrow as poster sessions. Okay, let's hear. How many of you here will be making presentations tomorrow? So what's your questions?
and in meanwhile, I will assure each and every speaker that I will upload their presentation on website.
Okay, when are we supposed to send the presentation?
So by tomorrow between 11 to 12.
Can we send it by mail today? Can we send it by mail today?
Sure, they can, sir. But the following parameters they need to have, they need to rename their presentation with the college name and they need to have a proper format. Instead, they can have their own theme for presentation, and they need to merge poster and presentation, the PPT slides, into one presentation and need to send it by over email to me.
Okay. Okay. Can we get some clarification on the decision matrix in the post for the poster presentation?
Decision matrix in the sense, we'll be having a 5 criteria in which the participant in which they are proposing the solution need to be characterized in the following criteria, having the baseline, let's suppose say of 5 points. They need to compare with if any existing solutions. If not, they can have their own proposed solution into it by giving some points out of 5 points, and then they need to explain during the presentation why they allotted X points out of 5. Suppose there is a criteria feasibility, which is with the base point 5. If they are giving 4 points, then they need to have an explanation why they are giving a 4 points for that particular criteria under decision matrix.
Okay. Who all are going to be presenting tomorrow? That's a very general question, but maybe you can just elaborate what's happening in terms of the presentations.
Yes, sir. As far as we concern for better connectivity, voice clarity, and better smooth transition. We recommend a single person presentation, or else if there is a mutual good understanding between you as a team, then you can proceed to have a group presentation, or else we recommend a single person presentation.
Okay. So what is the, can you be for, but after the presentation, what's going to happen, events with judges and all?
Each and every participant would be predefined into the breakout rooms. That procedure you will be getting to know in tomorrow's session. And meanwhile, when you are presenting your posters of the whole presentation, we'll have a jury members for the particular breakout rooms and main room. They would be judging you based on your presentation. And also, I have attached a rubrics in which the following points they will look after you into your presentation.
Okay. So after the presentations are done, the jury will consult with each other, and in the meantime, some of the program will go on, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and before the end of tomorrow's session, they will know the results, or will that be later on?
No, sir. In validatory, they will know their results.
When?
Validatory on day 3.
Oh, well, or day 3. Day 3 they will know. Ah, good point. Okay, that's a good point. Okay, can the number of slides be altered?
As far as we concern, total 10 minutes duration for presentation, in which 7 minutes extremely for presenting their proposed solution, their abstract, their ideas, and 3 minutes for questionnaire. They need to bond between 7 minutes and 3 minutes.
Okay.
If they can able to manage, and then we don't have any issues. But we recommend them to use the following 4 slides after the poster.
Okay.
For better understanding and better explanation.
Exactly what time will our presentation will be? Do we know?
As far as we already made an Excel sheet for each and every college by characterizing them from alphabetical order A to Z, and within shortly I will be sharing those details in the WhatsApp groups from which time to which time.
Can I know? Can you explain a little bit more about what is meant by specifications slide?
Specification development in the sense, if you have suppose in the poster I am talking about solar pottery maker, where I talks about the component which required for my project. The basic idea for specification development would be the concept which you are thinking in under conceptual design, and what components you require in order to make your product. So a brief description about the components, the cost, and the total cost of the project.
Okay. Do we have to submit a PowerPoint earlier or just present it at the time of presentation?
They need to send me by between 11 to 12 tomorrow, without by renaming with their college name.
Okay. What are idea 1 and idea 2 in the decision matrix?
Idea 1 in the sense the existing solutions. Idea 2 is where they propose solution. If in case there is no existing solution, then they can go ahead with their proposed solution and allotting x points with a base point of 5 points.
Okay, is including decision matrix necessary in the slides?
Decision
Sure.
matrix plays important role where like you will be able to know how your project would be like they have some criteria, feasibility, maintenance, and other criteria in which you will be getting to know how your project would be characterized, and at the time of presentation jury members would be sharing their insights related to that criteria.
So you don't have to include the decision matrix, but you have to take into account the decision matrix when you prepare your slides, right?
Yes, sir.
How long would each team, you already mentioned it, have to present, and can we have all 4 people presenting? So I think that's going to be, again, you answered that question, but you might not repeat it. Otherwise, they'll have 4 people presenting and become a chaotic. Repeat that, what you just said earlier about the presentation.
Sure. Like as far as we concern, we just bother about the connectivity, voice clarity, and if you have like a good mutual understanding between you and a smooth transition between you, then we don't have any issues. You can present in a team, but we often recommend as a single person presentation to avoid any inconvenience at that moment.
Okay. Is it okay if we do not have video on because of network issues? I think you don't want video on, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Only the participants need to unmute themselves, and we don't want participants to put on the cam.
Yeah.
As
So no
it could
video.
be distractions to other persons.
No video because of network issues. Okay. How will we get to know at what time our presentation will start?
We already, I guess, we already formed a WhatsApp group for each and every college. We will be letting you know. We will be communicating through WhatsApp. Through within shortly, you will getting you to know the time of duration, the your college presentation schedule between which time to which time.
Okay. Let's see. What happened? What happened to this one? Missed.
Some of them have a repeated question about decision metrics box in our poster. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're also saying if our idea is the new invention and we do not bring in the original, and there is no idea 1 to mention in the decision metrics.
10 minutes, including all in the case of group PowerPoint. Of course, yes, 10 minutes there. Then should we only use 6 slides or opportunity? That's already answered the question. You can, it's up to you. That's the recommendation. Do we have, same questions are coming up again. We have to share screen while presenting.
Decision metrics,
yeah, go ahead.
No.
Sharing screen? No.
No, sir. Like we will having their presentation. We will flash their presentation. We have moderators for each and every breakout room. They were responsible for flashing the screen.
Okay, so that's a good point because that will make it the coordination between the speakers probably easier to have just 1 or 2 people presenting. Otherwise, they'll be jumping up and down. So that'll be something to think about everybody, because you will be present. We will be presenting the slides, and they just have to talk on them. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So no share screen.
So the question on decision metrics, would you want to clarify that, Saeed? Because I think many of them are asking the same question. How important is it to have decision metrics? Is it necessary to include, and etc.?
Yeah.
Like as ma'am, just when we start making a poster presentation, we will consider the following criteria. Like whenever jury goes into those presentations, they look how the project or the proposed solution comes under the feasibility, the maintenance of the product, and other criteria through which we can able to will have a conceptual design in our mind where this participants can work on it, or simply it would be like some random stuff or random creepy idea where they can able to present those. So to avoid those, we thought to have a decision matrix.
Okay.
Okay.
There's one person asking, should we use only 6 slides or can we add more slides?
That's fine. I think he answered that one, right? They can be flexible, plus or minus 1.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that same questions are coming again and again.
Yeah, this question
So
about accurate budget.
Yeah. Now you have to, how can we can't? That's approximate. When you're writing a proposal, you can only approximate, right? So you use your common sense, everybody, okay? So use your common sense as to what you're proposing. And I think you might have heard from the Claire Commonwealth about how to write a proposal, right? So some ideas already might have come to you there. Ranji has mentioned to you. So there are all kinds of interesting things that have already been come up. So this is a learning process. So just do the best that you can. Okay.
Again, the estimate has to be realistic. You cannot ask for the moon when you are working on a small thing.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much it, Saeed. I think the questions are repeating itself. Okay. Anybody else has more questions? Just submit into the WhatsApp group that is being created, and Saeed and the group can deal with it tomorrow morning. Okay.
Yes.
I think we need to close today. Yeah.
Now, I would like to invite Tanmay for concluding the session.
Thank you, Seth. Now that we are done with the queries for today, I would like to put a quick insight on the very exciting day 2 of IUCEE Student Summit. As we will be surely excited for the tomorrow's session, we will begin with Dr. Krishna Vedula, who will guide us about IUCEE and its achievements, followed by segregation of participants into groups for poster presentation, which is a key light event and which will let students explore their skills and present them globally. After the interval, Dr. Veena Kumar will guide us and prepare us for professional excellence. To conclude tomorrow's session, our sponsors SmartBridge and MATLAB will guide us about virtual internships and use of extensive softwares, respectively. We will meet again on day 3, where Dr. John will highlight EWB International and its activities. We will surely learn about EWB India as well from Dr. Ashok Agarwal. IUCEE student chapter presentations will be the session where all IUCEE student chapters will present themselves, their work, and their progress. Dr. Vedula will be guiding us about the colleges that are part of the Student Summit and that are part of the IUCEE student chapter. He will also guide us about the colleges on the procedure for formation of IUCEE student chapter in their respective colleges. To top it all, we will end up with our cultural night on that day, on day 3, where we will be performing with a great of variety. So stay tuned and enjoy this summit. We'll call it a day today. Thank you for being with us so patiently. We all appreciate your efforts for being in this concert. Thank you, one and all.
Perfect timing. Good job, guys. Well done. So this is what was called project management, planning and execution. You guys passed the test completely. Remember we talked about soft skills, project management. You guys all got A+ in that area of planning and execution.
Wow.